Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we discuss all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just overall discussions of the day. For those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and with me, as usual, is my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Ques questioning my life choices, I think would after the movie that I saw today, wondering what brought me to such a lowly state.
Yeah, I saw the same movie. I sat there in the movie theater and watched Captain America 4, and
Oh,
I'm ashamed of myself that I did.
woof.
And we will certainly get to talking about that
Oh,
today.
yeah,
We're gonna
we
have a
will.
really good conversation because the thing is, until now, I actually haven't encountered somebody that also saw the movie, so it's gonna be quite a conversation that we have.
Oh, boy, alright, sounds great.
But just for our sort of headlining story here, I noticed today that finally they confirmed both Tulsi Gabbard and RFK.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised because we were talking about it and we said I felt like one of those two, maybe they won't be able to confirm them,
Yeah,
and somehow they did.
yeah,
Did that surprise you,
a little.
Professor? Either you or have disappeared, or it's me. One of us has disappeared. This is very
Mine.
strange. Wait, now I could hear you, I think.
Oh, am I back now?
Yeah, I think you're back now. Did
Okay,
I
yeah.
disappear or did you disappear?
No, I think I disappeared. I'm looking at my network log here, and it looks like I dropped out for a sec. So,
So yeah, so
yeah,
I think we thought that even there were Republicans that would sort of keep them from getting confirmed, and we were sort of hesitant. We didn't know if that would actually go through, and now it looks like they both went through.
yeah,
What do you think
they both
about
went
that?
through. They've both been confirmed. I believe they've both been sworn in as of today. So, yeah, that's I guess a little surprising. That's kind of what I was saying when I dropped out there. A little surprising that they both got through. I felt like there were certain people who had some various different issues with Tulsi Gabbard, some of her that things that she said in the past. And then there's also, there's been a lot of challenges potentially to RFK Jr. with, some other, some comments that he's made, some rather fringe comments about, vaccinations and various things that might cause or whatever. He's been a little on the fringes there, and yeah, I was kind of surprised. I mean, the Republicans, really stuck together and, put Trump's candidates through. I didn't actually see a tally of who voted for and who voted against, but clearly they were able to put both of Trump's candidates through and to get them confirmed, which is impressive. Uh, so and a little, as I said, a little surprising. So.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I thought I don't know. I was thinking maybe that RFK or Tulsi. I thought one of these wouldn't work, so it is kind of surprising. I if I had to give my own personal opinion, I actually think that it's not. It's good. I'm a middle of the road kind of guy, and I actually thought that when RFK and when Tulsi were more considered Democrats, they were pretty much the Democrats that I more thought were kind of like moderate and reasonable. So I rather was fond of them out of that whole party. So for them to just say, "Hey, you know what? This party has become too extreme for us. We don't like being here. We're just going to go over there." I think it says a lot, and I think that it also kind of gives a feeling, and that could be a false feeling, but it gives a feeling that Trump was saying that he really wanted to do something like unite people, and by taking RFK and Tulsi and giving them roles in his cabinet the way he did, I think it's something that we don't even usually see in politics. It's something kind of new. No?
Uh, it does seem to be something that we have not seen a lot of on either side of the aisle in recent years. There's been a significant divide on both sides, and even presidents who come to their office saying, "I'm going to be a uniter, not a divider." end up being some of the most divisive people. Obama. So that's one of those one of those things that we've seen for years, and it does seem like Trump and his more populist movement does seem to be open to say, "Hey, we're here, and come join us. Maybe we won't agree on everything, but we'll agree on some things, and let's get some things done."
I think that has
And
meaning. It
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 does.
looks like a gesture that you don't usually see. Throughout the campaign when he's like, "Yeah, like, I'll give him roles and whatever," I didn't even know if that was for real. Like, I hesitated and wondered to myself what would happen if he actually got elected, and the fact that he's like, "No, I'm gonna follow through with this, like, I said I was gonna do this, and I'm doing it," and I don't know, it's sort of it's nice that there's something, almost like I don't know, they were using the term uniparty or whatever it is, but there is something cool about it. I think it's nice to have people with different opinions that are able to work together. I don't think that's a bad thing. And listen,
And yeah,
uh,
and it seems like Trump is interested in people who are looking to shake things up. He wants people who are looking to try to actually maybe fix things, make some changes, not just run with the status quo like everyone else. And yeah, Istphobos was saying in the chat here, by the way, if you saw it, he said that the vote was 52, so only McConnell voted no, and he's basically brain dead anyway, so I'm not surprised.
yeah. I mean, I guess everybody kind of figured that he would be the one, so they
Oh
did
yeah.
it. Let me see. It says, uh 52 to they were both 52 to 48. Only Mitch McConnell voted against them, and Eric Weinstein described it as a super ticket during the election.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I actually think it's a positive development. I think that Robert F. Kennedy. I know people say that sometimes he says things that are a bit eccentric or whatever, but he comes from a family that sort of politics and things like that. I mean, I don't have an issue with him being there. And Tulsi is a woman who actually served her country, and she's always given me the feeling that she's kind of down to earth, and yeah, I mean, I like you said, it could be that there's something that I will agree or won't agree with her on, but at the end of the day, she's always given me a good impression. And I say this before she even talked to Trump. Even when I would look at those kind of Democratic, those kind of primaries or whatever, she looked like one of their stronger people, Tulsi Gabbard, actually. She was much stronger than Kamala. I think that if they would have had her as a candidate, they would have, I dare say if there was actual primaries and let's say Tulsi was the Democratic candidate, I think that Trump would have had his work cut out for him. I don't think she would have been just cackling around, you know?
No, not at all.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
I know
she,
what
she
you
was
mean.
like a formidable person. Like she looks like she's not an idiot, and when she talks, it sounds serious. It's not like you don't get the feeling that she's just some like listen. I don't know Kamala. I don't know if she, I know that people say, "Oh, well, she's done with that." I don't know that. I don't know her, and I don't know if she's smart or dumb, or I don't know anything. But I know that Tulsi, as a politician who also is sort of like seems to have a head on her shoulder, I think that she would have been a much better candidate for them. So they probably lost out by
Mhm.
not taking her.
Oh, but now she is the front runner for the next governor of California.
That is so funny if they actually elect her, because the thing is, it's like, why do you think she's going to do so great here? It's like sometimes it's like it's a tragic. So some of these voters are tragic figures that they'd want to replace. Let's say Newsom with Kamala. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. If I had to choose between Newsom and Kamala, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I may have actually voted for Kamala before voting for Newsom, but really, that's a very tough choice. I mean, if there's any other choice, if there's any other options, I'd really like to know what they are. But between like Newsom and Kamala, which is really very difficult to choose between those two,
Yeah, this is
I,
like
I
sort of like some like sort of greasy, scummy guy or this sort of empty-headed idiot. I'm not sure which one is going to do the least damage. You know, it's
The dead man in the chat says, I also couldn't believe RFK got confirmed. I can't wait to see what the both of them do. Yeah, it's interesting. And beyond even what like they do tomorrow morning or not, I like this idea of people coming together and working together. It's a real statement. He said it and he actually went through with it and it means something. Because a lot of times you have people before an election, they'll do like all these kind of friendships and make it seem like of course I'll make sure they're a part of my cabinet once I'm elected. Sometimes on the election trail, on the campaign trail, you never know if that kind of thing is going to be real or not. You don't know if that's really going to happen. And I think in this case, the fact that he immediately said, yes, I said this would happen and now it's happening, it says a lot about how focused he is this time. I would dare say that this is a different Trump than we got the first time around.
we're definitely getting a different Trump this time around. He's much more self assured in what he's trying to do in DC. He's got a lot of people behind him that he trusts. He's not really having to rely on establishment people that are being sort of pushed in his direction. Hey, you should have this person, or you should choose that person, or whatever. He's now had the opportunity to make a lot more contacts and build a bigger network of people that he knows, and he wants. I think he really wants not only to sort of build his vision and enact his vision of DC, but he's found a lot of people, like-minded people, who have their own ideas about how they want to change DC for the better. They want to change the government for the better, and I think he's all for it. And so we're going to see some really interesting years ahead. Now, yeah, especially RFK in place. That's going to be really interesting to see what he starts to move on first.
Murroxtra says on Rumble, Trump is the only president that has kept more campaign promises than he made. It's starting to look like he really is very serious about the things that he promised. I mean, it's rare because so many times you have an election that people promise stuff, and I even think that the first time around he said a lot of things, but maybe he didn't yet have the experience. I think that he did in those first 4 years surround himself with people that weren't always on the same page as him, and seemingly, at least this time around, from what we've seen until now in this short amount of time, it feels like he is much more focused on the type of people he wants to be working with. And yeah, I wonder if this will continue this way because I think that's pretty much a good direction.
So far, it's playing out really well, and his approval rating is only climbing. So yeah, full steam ahead. I think is where we're going, and yeah, there's going to be. We're already seeing a lot of legal challenges, some of which are going to go somewhere, some of which are just going to die on the vine. We're seeing maybe potentially we're seeing some movement in or soon we'll see some movement in the House and Senate to start supporting some of these ideas, maybe enshrine some of these things in law rather than simply having things, moving ahead as, more executive orders, right? That's what I would like to see, more than anything. I would like to see the House and Senate step up and actually start passing some laws and putting some of this stuff in a place where that there's nowhere to challenge it because it's been written into law rather than just being an executive order. So that's what I would really like to start seeing. But yeah, there was a lot of the news keeps pouring in. Not only did we get these two appointments that went through and have been confirmed, we now also have there's Trump moving forward with laying off a whole bunch of government workers today.
I don't know if it's me that disappeared or the professor, but Dude Bro 420 did that kind of cheers with Leonardo DiCaprio. I appreciate that. Professor, are you with us?
I dropped out on you again. Dang.
Yeah, totally roboting. You're going in and out. It's
Oh,
either me or you, but I have a feeling it's you
no,
for some reason.
it's me. I'm looking at my network traffic and it's
You're
going all.
roboting.
It's
Well,
going
you
all
are
over
a
the place.
robot, but
And I
you're
don't know why it's
robo
doing this. I restarted everything right before we started. I don't know why it's all getting all weird
It's
on me,
all
but
right, but,
yeah, it's fine. It's all right.
Hypnocrab says, "You are so adorable." I don't know who Hypnocrab is referring to. Is it me that's adorable or the professor? So that's a question that we'll never know the answer to.
Mm.
But I see that Hypnocrab also did the cheers thing. So we do appreciate it. Istophobos says Trump was naive and got stabbed in the back multiple times in his first term. He knows the game now, and that guy that got fired from NIH got spilling the beans. Wow. Professor Frozen and roboting. Yes, Professor. We seem to have lost the professor. I guess the goldfish. Oh, that's me. Thank you. Thank you. I I love that they call me the goldfish. I haven't heard that one yet, but thank you. I'm a goldfish now, and I appreciate it. I hope you like my spaceship too. And I hope we see the professor again.
Okay, okay. Am I back?
Yes, now
Yeah,
you're back.
okay, okay. I'm gonna go restart my router. I'll be right back.
No problem. No problem. And I guess it's just you and me. I'm saying this to the chat here. If you got any questions at all, now is the time to ask them. However weird, uh, Dude Bro says I'm a space goldfish. Thank you. I like the idea of a space goldfish. So I guess yeah, Professor is having technical difficulties. He's restarting his router. I was going to ask him, what he thought the odds of Kash Patel getting confirmed. I actually thought that Kash Patel guy had more of a chance than maybe Tulsi and RFK. So I think there's a chance. I don't know. I can see why maybe there's some people that would resist or whatever, but it'll be really something if he manages to get confirmed, and then all three of Trump's people, these people that people weren't sure if they're going to get confirmed.
Oh, I'm back. Hello. Sorry.
Okay,
Maybe that will fix whatever is just dropping in and out here. I don't know. We'll find out.
um, the lore behind the Avatar. That's what somebody said. Okay, I'll try. I'll try to give a little bit. I years ago had an account that I just kind of would comment on Twitter on stuff, and I had an account that was called something else, and I just once, and I didn't even have almost any followers, and I wasn't even familiar with what happens on Twitter, and I wrote something poking fun at Taylor Swift, saying something that like semi poking fun, kind of saying that I don't think that she's as big of a deal as some people think she is musically, and I just wrote some comment about it, and for some reason this comment seemed to have gone viral, and more people were, and I didn't even know at the time how to block DMs. If I've never blocked them. I don't think I blocked them today either, but I didn't know anything about that. And my account was just bombarded every second with all these weird Swiffers. What are they called? The ones that like Taylor Swift, Swifties, Swiffers. I'm going to go with Swiffers. So in any case, those Swiffers got very upset, and I started getting a ton like that. That account was like, it's as if like they clobbered my account. I couldn't do anything. Just all day and all night, weird Swiffers bothering me. And at the time, I was like I said, I was new to Twitter. I didn't know what to do, and I said, okay, I'll try to do something else. And I was at the time I started talking about how I didn't like The Last Jedi, and I was talking about Star Wars stuff. So long story short, I one of the reasons I'm even called Price of Reason is that I said to myself after all the people were bothering me, like the Swiffers, I said to myself, "Oh, I guess like by making this comment, which was a very reasonable comment about Taylor Swift, I'm the one that paid the price. I paid the price of reason." That's what I was telling myself, and just as sort of a joke, I opened up a Twitter account with that name, and initially, I'm not even sure if it had like an avatar at all. But I really, as a kid, I watched Star Wars, and there was a character that was called Admiral Akbar, and it kind of reminded me. I ended up doing an avatar that sort of reminds me of him. I'm not 100% him. This is different. He has a strange. he looks different, but I'd say that, like, at least there was, like, initial inspiration, and that's how we got here. Yeah, so you can thank the Swiffers. That's how we ended up here.
Hmm.
And the professor is back.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm here. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the lore
It's
behind the name, yeah.
it seems to be it seems to have stabilized a bit, so maybe restarting everything and it's all it's all working out, so hopefully I'm not sure what that was all about, but yeah. Oh, and the background behind my avatar,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, tell us.
um, it's R2-D2, but he's purple and he has a professor hat on
It's inspired by. It's not
as a
exactly the
motorable.
same thing. No, neither of
Yeah,
us are the same thing.
no, it's not exactly the same thing as
No, it's
R2-D2, not
inspired
at all.
by.
It's inspired by an astromech from Star Wars. Yes, actually, I used to go by, and still my handle on a number of different areas is R2B2. Actually, used that handle for quite a few years, and then it just wasn't very unique, and I really didn't have a lot of ideas what to do with like a with an avatar, that would be sort of clever and interesting, whatever. And then it was a Mr. Brown stream where we were it was during we were watching Ahsoka or whatever, and there's a character on there. It was in the show called Hu Yang. He's a really ancient droid who is actually
Ah, I remember that stupid
he's
droid,
he's
yes.
actually a professor. He's a teacher at the Jedi Academy, and so I actually changed my avatar a little bit to look like Huyang and called myself Professor R2. And then I was playing around with it. I was like, oh, I could do this whole thing with like the mortar board. And, I was playing around with AI and making a bunch of different funny avatars. And I was like, I like this. This is fun. And it actually, what's hilarious, it actually did not come from me actually working in academia. It just sort of, it just sort of happened.
But
So,
the funny thing is you actually do, so it
yes,
actually right, so Professor R2 is very fitting. That's
yes,
what makes it cool,
yep.
and, yeah, just a final bit of lore, if you're wondering why I have a crown on my head, it's actually because of Sam Smith. This is a true story also. One day, at the beginning, my avatar didn't have a crown on it, and then what happened was is Sam Smith, said one day he made an announcement. He said, "Moving forward, I don't wanna be considered, I want you to address me as they, them." Now, today, everybody knows that pronoun thing and what it means, but at the time, I honestly didn't know what he was talking about. So I'm like, "What do you mean they, them? What's wrong with you?" You know what I mean? Like, I really just said that not even realizing because it was such a new thing. People think those pronouns have been around for a long time. They haven't. I feel like before 2017, 18, 19, who even knew what those were? Nobody cared about those pronouns. Nobody knew anything. So Sam Smith wrote that. And then I did like now it's just like everybody tells the same stupid joke. But I think that at that moment, 5 minutes later, I wrote like something like His Highness or something with like a slash. I just wrote something stupid. And then I don't know why. I just said, well, it'll be funny if I'm His Highness and now like I have a crown on my head. So I just put it there and I meant to put it on, for one day. And then people were complimenting and saying that they like the crown, so I just kind of left and I did a poll, I think. I said, "Should I leave the crown or remove it?" And there was like a wide majority for like leave the crown. So then it stayed. Huh. So, yeah. Marla Sharondoff says, My coffee maker is Mr. Coffee. True story.
Mhm.
Well, that's good to know. That reminds me of Spaceballs where they had Mr. Coffee. Anyhow, while you were gone, Professor, I was saying that now that he's got RFK and Tulsi, what do you think the odds of Kash Patel going through are?
Well, at this point, pretty good. It's was surprising to see everybody uh, working together to make sure that these other two pass through. And at this point, I would give much better odds for Patel getting through. Um, yeah, I haven't really had a whole lot of time to read, a lot of the different think pieces and stuff that have been going around about it, but yeah, I think it's definitely it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But I think I'm going to give him much bigger odds than I would have before. But maybe 3 out of 4 chance.
I mean, until now, it's impressive. I really didn't think that RFK and Tulsi would both be in. So if they're in, Kash Patel has a chance at least.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good chances.
Now, what's happening with all that Doge stuff? I only ask that because I feel like every 5 minutes that I don't look, there's like another finding. It's like
There hasn't. I don't think I feel like there's been quite as much stuff that's happened over the past day or two. But let's see. Let's look at the Doge account on X and see what they
I
have to
know that
say
he did
about
a
it.
website. Like he's like, oh,
Yeah,
now I have a
there's a
website.
website, and then there's the Doge account. Let's see. Looks like yesterday,
There was something about like
EPA.
$2.7 trillion of something, or that was already the other day.
Yeah, yesterday EPA canceled 3 DEI contracts, saving taxpayers $45 million. Um, yeah, the Doge website is live now. We can we look at it. Basically, just has it's a website with the X posts on it. So it's essentially the same as looking at the site there. There was a
What's the
post
website?
from
Is
the
it Doge.com? What's the website?
it is Doge.gov.
Oh, nice.
So they got a .gov for it.
.gov. It's cool
Uh,
though.
yeah. The U.S. Department of Education said something here. So
Yeah, didn't they want to dismantle the whole Department of Education? The big ship. What up? What up? Man?
I would not be surprised if in the end they do cut the Department of Education to the bone. I think it might be one of the most useless departments in the entire federal government.
Hypnocrap
Uh,
says, I'm going to watch Captain America right now. Gave you a follow spaceship. Well, space fish. Thank you. I appreciate that. I saw Captain America today. Unfortunately, wasn't as good as I
yes,
had hoped.
yes.
But you have a good time.
I found out today that it is possible for a movie to live up to low expectations. So yeah.
Definitely. So,
Mm,
so
mm.
um, when it comes to uh, what was I going to say?
I was
The
saying something about the Department of
the Department
Education.
of
Yeah.
Education. Yes, you were saying about that.
Yeah, just saying that I think of all of the departments, it is one that has provided the least amount of benefit to the country over the years of its function. People just lose their mind over, oh well, it's gonna hurt students. No, you know what's hurting students? Billions and billions of dollars that is just going to administrators in the Department of Education. It's just going to administrators in your state. It's just going to any number of places that are not students. If you looked at the amount of money that was sent to any given state and saw how much of that actually ended up in classrooms benefiting students, we're talking about like 1/16 of the actual money that was sent actually ended up benefiting a student. It's absurd. It is driven the same as a variety of other issues that have driven healthcare costs just wildly out of whack, where administrative costs in healthcare have just skyrocketed while actual care for patients has gotten worse. This has happened with education at all levels, from primary all the way through higher education. And I know I'm as would in a way sort of saying I'd bite the hand that feeds me, but the truth is that higher education is in just as much trouble and just as much of a problem with the massive amount of money that's being wasted in by the Department of Education and any number of other groups, because it's basically gotten to a point where, well, we can just charge whatever we want because students are just going to rack up as much debt as we require them to rack up so that they can go to school. And then a lot of them end up racking up tons of debt and never getting a degree that actually benefits them. So it's an incredibly strange system that's developed over the years of sending enormous amounts of money down to states. Of course, you don't get the money unless you meet all these now, or at least, during Biden's time there, you had all of these wild, DEI mandates and stuff like that you had to meet in order for all of that money to, actually be received by different departments and different school districts and so on. And then again, so much of it just gets poured into this huge bloat of administrators that their whole job there is just to make it more difficult for teachers to actually do their jobs. And it's absurd, and it's going to have to get broken at some point. And maybe Trump and Doge and some of the other people that are behind it, they're going to be the ones to do it, because I think one of the best things that we could do is potentially eliminate, or at least cut, down to the bone, the Department of Education, allocate that money to states, make sure that that money is not being spent on an outrageous amount of administrators. It's actually going to the schools and benefiting the students, and then implement school choice across the country. Or just say, you know what, if you want to take, your money to go to a private school or charter school, magnet school, whatever, then you're free to do it.
And first of all, I agree. And the other
Yeah.
thing is Jonathan Conray says, "Hey, Lal," and haven't
Hail
seen
Jonathan
Jonathan in a
Conroy.
while, so just wanted to say hi to
Good
him.
to see you.
And Tim Hayes as well. Also nice to see him. Also nice to see Adam Gray and a few other people here.
Yes, a Darkwing Duck has entered the chat. Let's
Oh,
get
that's
let's get dangerous. Yes. I loved Darkwing Duck when that show was on, with the had the whole that block of all the Disney shows in the 90s.
I don't even think I know what Darkwing
Oh, yeah, it was the
Duck is.
Darkwing Duck was, they had a whole block of shows where they had, DuckTales was the first big one, and then they had, Tailspin and, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and then, Darkwing Duck was, a duck character, right? But he was Batman, but he was he was it was a mix between sort of Batman and Get Smart. And so it was a comic.
Oddly,
Uh,
I
he
must have
he
missed it.
he is the terror that flaps in the night. I believe it was his line.
I see. Um, I was gonna ask you something, and now kind of what I was gonna ask you about the Department of Education. Isn't that something that Jimmy Carter started?
Absolutely, it was started by Jimmy Carter in
I
1979, I believe.
Man, I hate to say it because I know the guy passed away. I wanna be respectful on the one hand, but man, so many things that are not good can be traced back to his presidency. I think that he was a guy that made a ton of
Hmm.
mistakes that had long-lasting implications.
Yeah, initially the idea behind the Department of Education was not particularly a bad one. The idea would be to sort of, make sure there's some consistency between things across the country, and find ways to more easily have federal money to benefit students, at the local school level. And also they helped it to administrate the student loan program for higher education. There's a lot of things that have become part of what the Department of Education does, but unfortunately, uh, if you look at the intent of the Department of Education to help improve education throughout our country, specifically public education. In 1979, in many different metrics, we were fourth or fifth worldwide in like math, reading, sciences, all of these things. Uh, and essentially every year since then, we have dropped in those international rankings, and now we're like down in a lot of areas we're down 15s, 20s. It's pathetic. We are not educating our children. We're focused on way too many things, and again, too much of that money is just going to administrative waste. It's not actually benefiting the students. It's not benefiting the teachers. So if anyone wants to complain about teachers and the staff of the schools not being paid enough, it's because there's too many administrators that are eating up all that money. And we could really afford to pay those teachers well, and find better teachers who are willing to stick around for better money, if we weren't throwing it all away on administrators in public school districts. So
Yeah, well, people are saying maybe his intentions were good.
I
Maybe
think
his
they were.
maybe
I
his
think they were.
intentions were the best. I will say that when I look back at things that he did, even things that at the time people were like, "Oh, this is so good that he's doing it." I don't know if there were people that said, but even if there were, I think that historically, almost everything he was involved in wasn't that great. I don't think that he left much of a great legacy. And his main legacy was that after he wasn't the president, he just went around the world and inserted himself into any kind of thing that he could. Some people like that, and that's fine. I just think that, I don't know what I think about it, really. It's nothing personal. I know, maybe he was a family man. Maybe if you took aside the politics and all the other stuff, maybe he was a decent guy. I didn't know him, I'm just speculating. But I don't think that his place was to be a politician at all. Not first. I don't think that he was right to be the president, based on what I could tell. And then afterwards, as the kind of magnanimous politician going around the world and intervening on stuff, I don't know how good he was at that either.
Goodness. Oh my. Oh, we have the big ship over there on YouTube who has gifted 20 Price of Reason Live memberships this evening. My goodness. Big ship. Thank you.
Big ship. You know what's funny is that one day I think he gave like 50 away or 70 away. I don't know what it was. It was something crazy. And then I looked and he didn't have a
He didn't
at
have
that
one
moment he
himself.
didn't have one. And I'm just like, when you buy it, doesn't it give it to you one also? Don't you
I
get one
guess
as
not.
well?
No, gives it to everybody else.
So yeah, that was a really bizarre situation that he did all that and he didn't even have one at the end. But I'm happy. He has one now, which makes me very happy. And of course, the 20 are very, very appreciated. We're so appreciative just in general. I feel like more people have been joining us on these late conversations lately, and we appreciate the feedback from people, and just having these conversations with everybody, because you guys are here with us. We're always kind of looking at the chat, and it helps us and makes it feel like we're doing something even more significant. The fact that there's actually people here interacting with us, it really does feel great. And the big ship, thank you so much for the 20 live memberships. Genuinely appreciate it. So back to this. Was I being a jerk with Jimmy Carter? Was it
No,
too
I don't think
much? Too
so.
much? Too
No,
much of
no,
me saying that
no.
I think he kind of didn't he give him like Nobel Peace Prize and all the anytime they
Oh, of
roll
course.
out the
No, he got all the things. Yeah, and I will say genuinely, I think that as a person, he was a very good man. He was someone who was very generous with his time and very outgoing and very caring, a very loving person. As a president and as a politician, total failure.
total fair.
But
And he ate a lot of peanuts.
just because you just because you're president doesn't mean you're going to be a great president. But he was a good human being,
Good. He was
and
he
he cared for people, and he
he
lived up to the expectations he had for others
he was
for caring
a
for
very
people.
caring failure.
And it's you can be that, right?
You can be that, sure. You could be
As
caring
as
and
Adams
scale
is
at the
is
same
perhaps
time.
too good of a man for the job, as Adam said. So,
Yeah,
that's
was too good of
possible.
a man for the job. You know what? I like that. Maybe that's fine. Uh, sometimes, yeah, sometimes when you need to be like a president, it's not always if you're the nicest person or the most sensitive and sweet person. Sometimes it's a person that also, doesn't have to necessarily be those things. You sometimes to do a job, you need to be a certain person. I mean, it's good if the person has some kind of morals, I guess. But a lot of times when you're a leader, it's not all just like sunshine and roses. And I feel like Carter came from a whole different place. And yeah, I don't think that he was a good fit. That's probably why he lasted one term. And yeah, I think who else lasted a term? You had like the George H.W. Bush. But George H.W. Bush, even though he lasted one term, you could argue that he had more like terms. First of all, when Ronald Reagan didn't know what was going on, which I think his second term he was already having issues, I feel like already Bush was heavily involved. He wasn't that type of vice president that was like a pushover, but H.W. Bush was the opposite. And then he became the president, and then maybe he wasn't elected, but once like George Bush the son, like George W. Bush became president, suddenly all the people that were like the right hand men to George H.W. Bush were suddenly working with the younger Bush, if you recall.
Yes.
It really had the feeling of like that was his way to continue to do whatever he was doing, only from behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion, at least, and I think that probably that worked better. Because the thing is that in the years that he was president, George H.W. Bush, because I considered him, I say this, I'm not trying to be mean. I kind of always considered him a bit slippery, but not only slippery, you could tell that he was slippery. Like something about his vibe when he talked and when you saw him, you felt that slippery vibe, if you know what I mean. And I
Sure.
think that actually operating from behind the scenes with a son that's kind of a little more like, goofy, kind of as the front man, I think that that was easier for him to pull off.
Very possibly, yes.
I mean, maybe some people won't agree with me. They're like, "You think that George H.W. Bush was influential when his son was the president?" So maybe some people wouldn't agree with me, but personally, I think he was. He like rolled out Cheney and all his people, like all the people that were like his people suddenly popped up.
They did indeed. There were quite a few people from,
And honestly,
from George W.'s, past. Yeah.
right. Like, too many for it to be a coincidence. Like, yes, it's possible that they all were so inspired by George W. Bush, but I really think that the reason they all arrived there was because, you know, the senior guy was still pulling some strings in the background. I generally, personally, I don't love this kind of thing where you're a president and then like your wife next minute is the president or your son is now the president or this is the president. I'm not saying it couldn't happen with years apart,
Mhm.
with like enough years apart, but when it's so quick, something about it feels a bit kind of
Mhm.
less democracy and more kind of maneuvery to me.
Yeah. Yeah. When you had, had H.W. Bush, gets his one term, and then you've got Clinton, and then suddenly his son is in office. That's
Two
yeah, that's
terms, you
very
got,
weird.
yeah. And again, like George W. Bush was the vice president, then the president, and then there was Clinton, then his son is the president too. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was around for 5 different, like, terms, if you want to call it. Very influential, I think, in all of them.
Yeah. I think you gotta mix that. H.W. was his dad. H.W. was the one who was
Right, HW
yeah,
was the dad
and
and
then
W was the young
W
one.
was the younger one. Yeah.
Why
I think you
did
just I think you just said it
I
backwards.
just switched
Yeah.
them? You knew what I meant.
Maybe I did too, I don't know.
No, no, it was probably me, but you knew what I meant. The
Yeah, yeah, I know
HW
what
is
you
the
meant.
father, W is the son. And, yeah, it's a very influential family, the Bushes. And people were saying here before that, I think he was, head of the CIA and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah. He was very tight with the deep state, during his time, both
And
before and while he was in office, so
I mean, I wonder, I think that even I'm not suggesting anything. Of course, I wanna just say a disclaimer. Here at Price of Reason Studios, uh, we're not claiming anything, we're just speculating. And now that I've said that, wasn't he something in the CIA when Kennedy was, you know, Kennedy was
d
deleted?
don't know. Don't know.
No, because I've always I think that was he already working there when the Kennedy thing happened? That's a good thing to ask. I don't know.
Hmm. Don't
I'm not
remember.
suggesting that there was
Yeah.
any, connection between that and that. I'm just saying that it's possible that he'd worked in the CIA and then, you know,
Mhm.
things happened to Kennedy. Could be a coincidence. It's likely a coincidence, and I obviously am not suggesting anything. Just contemplating. People in the chat know more than me probably, I guess.
He was director in the '70s, so that would have been well after.
Right. No, but the question
Yeah.
is if he was an operative at all.
Mm, no idea.
And somebody says, riddle me this, why not let Russia join NATO? Professor, I'm going to let you answer that.
Oh, um, kind of the whole idea of NATO was to counter Russia's power in the region. To So having Russia join would be a very strange. Um, hmm, uh,
Well, that
to
was a
to have to have you to have yeah, to have Ukraine join has been proposed numerous times, but with the problem there is that the part of the reason that Russia has made so many threats over that, saying we don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO, is that they want sort of a buffer state between the NATO countries and the Russian borders. So, mm, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I have not never considered. Uh,
By the way, when we were talking now about JFK and all that stuff, didn't they say they were uncovering some stuff?
I
All the stuff
believe should have either yesterday or today was the deadline for them to
declassifying.
deliver, well, not to declassify, but to deliver the plans to the president as to how it would be handled, like with a timeline for when they would be able to collect everything and declassify everything and put it into the public. So it wasn't that, by this deadline we're going to have everything out and hand it out to everybody, but that they would have a plan for when they would be able realistically to be able to roll out those declassified documents. And it sounds like they, in the process of collecting stuff, they found even more documents. So it might take them a little bit, yeah, because I guess they have to. I know that it's basically saying we're going to declassify everything, but there's certain steps when you have to go through that declassification to sort of look at those things and say, okay, if we declassify this, what kind of impact does that have on some other stuff? Not that they get to redact it or anything, but they get to kind of look at one thing and say, okay, does that affect some other classified stuff that we have, and what do we do about that? Right. So I don't know. But yeah, it sounds like we should probably, I would imagine we will hear something in the next week or two about what the plan is
I am
for getting that stuff
so
out.
curious. I feel like after all these years, Americans deserve an explanation on this because that whole story with his deletion
Hmm.
never seemed right to me. I've never believed anything that anybody said about that day. I honestly I don't think that Oswald could have just been there by himself and doing those shots the way he did. The second shooter theory, I think at minimum, I do believe that. It really doesn't seem like Oswald alone was in charge of everything. It just doesn't seem that way. Now, it could be that at the end it'll turn out that I'm wrong, but it really just doesn't seem that way and never did to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's something we don't know about that incident. I believe that there's a reason why all of this was classified for so many years, and I wonder if now when they unclassify, if they'll do it for real or whatever secret documents they were, somebody already burned them.
It's entirely possible. I've
Uh,
there have been some insiders who've made several statements saying that not to expect any kind of smoking gun when these get released. So
the
I
dead
guess
man
we'll see.
says, I believe Congresswoman Luna made a statement the other day saying she believes there was a second shooter. Apparently, Congress is going to form a new committee. Yeah, a million years too late, but yeah. It'll turn out that that whole Oliver Stone movie was actually probably had a lot of interesting things in it. Yoholo sent us some Trump doing like a dance and siren. Thank you. Very interesting. And then hold on one second. I'm gonna have to rewind once it's done. The penis sock deserves an explanation. I am I the penis sock?
I think so. Yeah, I don't. I'm more of a trash can.
I see. And then, there's the cat, like, doing the, thing with the Doge dog. Thank you for all this. It's really nice.
Mm.
So yeah, so I've never believed it. I've always thought there was something fishy, and I still, because I'm a suspicious person, I feel like even now we're not gonna be told the truth. Sometimes also, there's so many years go by that it's already hard to kind of cobble together whatever the truth really is. So if this was now happening close to the event, I think we'd have a better shot of figuring out what really happened. Now there's going to be a lot of speculation. You're saying there won't be a smoking gun?
That's what some people on in the know have had to say about things. So that there's a lot to learn, a lot of specifics about autopsies and all sorts of stuff that are going to be out there, but it's not. There's not going to be a, oh my god, this guy who worked for the CIA is the one who shot him, kind of a thing, right?
I guess
We're
they'll
not
never
we're not
admit
going to
to
get
that.
that.
I see Six is here. Hey, Six, how's it going?
Matt Cat also has joined us. Hey there, Matt Cat.
Hey, Matt,
Yeah.
how's it going? Yeah, that's cool.
We got all sorts of friends out there in the chat tonight. It's good to see them. We're seeing Marla Sharendorf's here. You said Adam Gray. We've got Empress NM, Barbara Lawrence, Whalem, all sorts of good friends of ours that we were seeing
Always
out
great
here
to
in
see them here.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I I I guess we'll have to see
Yep.
how this whole thing happens. I'm curious, but we'll see how it unfolds. And yeah, before we maybe jump into some other topics, is there anything else that we missed with all the kind of Doge, with anything like we talked about the confirmations, but is there anything big that happened? Oh, you know what? I saw that they were trying to get rid of Elon Omar. That they're trying to do
Yeah,
something.
that's something that's been ongoing for a while, trying
But
to
do you,
get.
do you think they have
uh,
any real chance of getting her to go anywhere? I feel like they've tried this before and it never succeeds.
Yeah, there's so many weird things
I
going
mean, they're
on.
always saying this is just listen, the president said this, so it's not that I'm saying anything special, but
Yes.
there's always the talk of like she married her brother and that's how he became a citizen or she became a citizen. I don't know what. It
Yeah,
is
there's
very
somebody
strange.
there's a representative in the House who's begun a petition to have Ilhan Omar arrested and deported back to Somalia for immigration fraud, with the whole thing about her marrying a relative to be to get her green card and whatever. Like there's been so many different things about this. I have no idea what's real and what's not, but yeah, I think that's a long shot to try and deport someone, a duly elected representative. But she's I mean she's just a walking joke. Everything she says, everyone knows that she's a complete sellout. She's totally sold out to the people who love watermelons and all sorts of other just bizarre causes out there. Uh, it's it's just so strange. But yeah, who knows? Maybe they do uncover some stuff about there's been some stuff said that perhaps that the family she came over with was not actually her family, that she did in fact marry her brother so that she could get her green card. And if that turns out to be true and that it is immigration fraud, then yeah, there's going to be a lot for her to explain. um
This guy looks like the Saul Goodman of senators. The guy that's filing the petition.
it's all good, man.
He looks like the Saul Goodman of senators. Look at him. This
Yes.
is not the Saul Goodman of senators. I think it
Uh,
is.
yeah, could
But
be.
Yeah, I mean, personally, if that's what, they catch her on, they say that she did that thing with her brother, I mean, it obviously it probably wouldn't be good if they actually had any kind of evidence to support that. But what I will say is that she does annoy me in the sense that, like, she made this, like, effort to sort of be an American, and ever since then, she just sits around and says how much, she seems to hate everything here, and even as an elected official, she seems to hate everything. Uh, I've never seen anything good come out of her, that she's done or argued for or anything, at least not in my opinion. So, yeah, I personally don't have anything especially positive that I think about her.
No, not at all. She's part of that squad of the ladies that get together and cry over everything and scream.
So it's like her, Rashida Tlaib, and, AOC.
And AOC, and there's a couple more on top of
There's,
that.
like, one other one. Who's the other one? I'm
Uh,
forgetting who's this other some other weirdo.
who are let's see, who are the members of the squad? Yeah, AOC, Ilhan Omar, A.N. Presley, Rashida
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Tlaib,
so
um, Delia Ramirez, Summer Lee.
and
Looks
all
like
these
some of
ladies keep getting elected all the time, like, why are they represented? Why are their own people why do they keep voting for them? They're just
and well, there's a few. Corey Bush was one of them. That's no longer up there. Was defeated. Was primaried out. So
Yeah, but he was like a lower
yeah.
level one. I feel like like the big ones in that group are like AOC, Elon Omar. Those are like the two that really
Oh
stand
yeah.
out.
Oh
And
yeah.
maybe like the third place I'd give to like Rashida Tlaib or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
No,
I
they're
mean,
all yeah.
listen, it's not like I don't have any issue if they're, it's not a matter of diversity or something. I don't care, what their background is in terms of like ethnicity or anything like that. It's just specifically I just don't like those three ladies. Don't prefer them. I don't
Oh
want to
no,
say not
they're
like them.
they're infuriating, and yeah, my life would be complete if I never had to see them again.
Of course, we mean that that other officials will be elected in
Absolutely,
their
yeah, that
place.
they would just no longer be in the
Right.
public
That's
eye. I
just
would never
clarifying. Just
never
clarifying.
have
Because
to
sometimes,
see them, anything from them, hear anything from them again. They're welcome to go about their lives,
right. I mean, they can go hate
go back to
America.
being bartenders and agitating
They,
for whatever at their local
they can hate America
whatever.
from the privacy of their own
Da-
home, and
Damn
I do.
straight.
They can do that. Like, if it's done in the privacy of your own home, that's up to you, you
Or
know?
from Somalia, either one. That's fine.
Maybe she wants to go back, to her roots, that's up to her. Of course, I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying that I would be involved. I don't know how we would get her to Somalia, but if she loves it so much there, she's welcome to go, I guess. If she doesn't like it here, like she says.
Yeah, or gets deported for immigration fraud. Either one. Yeah,
Right, I mean, that's
whichever.
if she did something wrong, I don't know. I mean, I've heard the brother thing for years, but, the question is if they can prove it or not, and that'll really be the big question, if they can prove something, and honestly, I felt like in the past, if they could prove it, they would have proved it, and then she would have probably been gone, so, as much as that story sounds very juicy, I haven't seen yet, that somebody is able to really prove it yet.
Yes. Well, the most recent word has been that that either the CIA or the FBI, one of the agencies, actually did have evidence that she had committed immigration fraud, but because of who was in the White House and in charge of those departments, that was covered up. So yeah, who knows though? That's all just conspiracy theory
Yeah, that's true.
until it's not.
Yeah, the big ship is mentioning something. I saw this the other day, by the way, that there were two physicians in Australia who basically, or they were healthcare professionals, maybe they were nurses. One claimed to be a doctor. I don't know, but they were basically saying that if Israelis end up in their hospital that they work, then they'll kill them, which is a strange things for
Hmm.
healthcare workers to say.
Seems like that would be a violation of your Hippocratic oath.
Yep. And then I guess they're like, the Australian authorities were like, we're going to do an investigation to find out what happened. It's like, I don't
Sure,
know.
you are, Australian authorities.
Right. I don't trust them at
Sure,
all.
you
Plus, I mean,
are.
there's not a lot to investigate, but yeah. But yeah, I
We
saw
believe
that.
you.
I did see that supposedly they did find those two people and maybe there were some repercussions. But yeah, generally, if you work at a hospital, you're not supposed to say stuff like that. That's what surprises me is that how stupid people are sometimes. I mean, I personally am against this to begin with. Obviously, they work at a hospital, and that's not what they should be doing. Like you said, the Hippocratic Oath and all that stuff, and doing the right thing. But I'm just wondering, how stupid do you have to be to actually go and say that when you're being recorded? Like, you think you're going to say that and nothing's going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. It uh, seems rather silly to say something like that and think that no one's gonna hear it or react to it or anything. It's why you would say that kind of thing as a healthcare professional. That's wild.
Yeah, you have to be really stupid. It's like, even if you're a bad person, it would help if you weren't stupid in addition. I mean, how could they even be healthcare workers like that are that dumb? Just for that, they don't deserve to work there. Like I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm saying like if you're a smart bad person, then when you're interviewed or whatever it is, there's like something live. You don't say stuff like that. You say like, "Oh, we take our things very seriously." The real sinister people are the ones that like make it seem like everything's great and then do bad stuff. But these are like not masterminds. These are idiots, actually.
Yeah. Ugh.
Just my 2 cents, of course. I see
Yeah.
that you're yeah, you're getting tired, Professor.
Oh no, yeah, it's been a long day. I had a rather early morning today, so yeah.
No, it's okay. I think that I still feel tired from watching, Captain America: Brave New
Oh,
World,
you had to
which,
say you had to bring that name into the
we had to. At
conversation,
some
didn't you?
point, we gotta cover that. We gotta cover
Oh,
that,
okay. All right,
movie.
let me wake up here. Okay.
Has anybody I'm just wondering, has anybody in the chat seen, Captain America: Brave New World, or is it just me and Professor R2?
We'll put a poll in chat. Have you or have you not seen Captain America? Yes
I
or no?
wonder if there's even one person that saw it. That'll be so interesting. It'll be funny that, like, out of all the people that are watching cross-platform, nobody watched this movie. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody went to see it. Like,
Oh,
I think,
yes.
I will say that there were a few people in the theater. It wasn't a full theater, but there were a few people in the theater when I went to see it.
No, there were see, my theater, I had, let's see, well, I counted there were 6, and then there was a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children that walked in a little later. So there were about 10, other people in the theater, with me. It was not a matinee showing, it was an early evening showing. It wasn't like, prime time. It wasn't the biggest showings, and it was a Thursday night, but still, yeah, there were only, another, and 8 or 9 people in the theater with me. And yeah, it was an experience and not a particularly good one. I'm
This
not
is
sure
re
where you want to start, Bryce. Are we just gonna throw out everything and just say spoilers coming and just not even bother trying to
spoilers. Adam
save the
Gray, did you
spoilers?
see it? Did you see the movie Adam Gray? I don't know if he's saying spoilers that it suck or they don't mind that they're gonna be spoilers. The Big Ship is saying 62 on YouTube. Yeah, it's good to know. Uh, okay, so basically, we saw it. I personally don't think that I'm ruining anything for anybody. I honestly, if this was a good movie, I tell you, like, I don't want to spoil it for you. You should go see it yourself. I'm gonna take a liberty here and tell you guys that this isn't a good movie, and I think that no matter what Professor and I say, it's not really gonna matter anyways. So,
Yeah.
if somebody is really, really hot on seeing, like, Captain America: Brave New World,
Yeah.
know that we're actually gonna be, talking a little more into detail about it. At the same time, it's not a good movie. So,
No, I
give
and on top of that, Price, I would say that this might be the most inconsequential MCU movie I have seen. In all of the films that they have released, this one has absolutely no stakes. Everyone essentially ends up right back where they started at the beginning of the movie, except for Thunderbolt Ross, President Ross.
right.
Everyone just sort of ends back more or less right where they started.
I agree.
It's a complete just unimportant side story that no one is going to remember and has no consequences for anything else happening anywhere. Especially did you stick around for the after credits scene or did you just catch
Another
it
dumb
on
scene.
YouTube?
Before we dive into it, I just want to say that whatever platform you're watching on, if you're on Rumble, I know a lot of people are watching on Rumble, and a lot of people use the app for it. Sometimes they use an app on their phone, sometimes on the TV, and I think that because it's so convenient, there's a lot of people that actually watch, but they don't actually sign up for Rumble, or maybe some of them are signed up, but they don't follow us. So all I can say is. Rumble is like our headquarters. That's the headquarters of this show. And if you guys want to follow us, that would be great. If you want to sign up, it's free. Sign up for Rumble and follow us. Really appreciate that. You can also like and join in on the chat. Obviously, any other platform you're on, if you're watching us right now, also feel free to subscribe and do all that good stuff. Just wanted to throw that out there. And now I guess we can dig deep into Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh
So
boy.
yeah, so I guess the movie starts off, and man, I'm just struggling. I saw it a few hours ago, and I feel like I saw
Yeah.
it 5 years ago. I'm struggling now to remember
So one thing I noticed right at the beginning, there was no Marvel fanfare. Did you notice that?
there wasn't all that dun dun
The
dun dun
yeah,
dun
the
dun. Dun.
with the comic pages
Yeah, they didn't have
flipping,
that. They
whatever,
didn't have.
no Marvel fanfare, just right into the movie. Just totally skipped out on the Marvel fanfare and opening for the film. Um, we start out with Thunderbolt Ross as he's popping some pills, and
Right,
then he comes out to be introduced, having just been elected president of the United States.
right.
Yes.
And he comes out and he gives a speech like, "Oh, well, I'm going to, work for all of you. We're doing this together," something like that. People were asking me if I felt that he really was sort of like, trying to be sort of an allegory or whatever for Trump. I didn't think even if that's what they initially intended, I don't know what the reshoots were like or what happened eventually. I didn't think that that's not the part that bothered me about the movie. I don't think that they overdid it in the sense that I'm like, "Oh, they're trying to save Trump." I really that's the least of the movie's worries in my
Mhm.
opinion because
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't think that's the biggest sin that this movie commits, but to me, watching it, I thought it was obvious. Even with reshoots and recuts and changing things, I felt like it was obvious that they were trying to make him a Trump allegory. And probably in earlier cuts of the film, it was much stronger.
right, it was much that's what I'm saying, that this one I'll tell you why they could get away with it, and this is why for me, it was especially in this version that they reshot, that it wasn't as maybe blunt as before. Don't get me wrong. You could tell that they were implying it, but I do feel that it could have been more blunt. And one of the reasons they were able to get away with it is Thaddeus Ross, like Thunderbolt Ross. He himself has always been sort of a douche. So if you look at him in The Incredible Hulk, even in previous versions, even in that one with Eric Bana, that character is always kind of a douche. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They've kind of established. I don't think you've ever seen him and think, "Oh, I really like this guy." So once he's the president, the fact that he would be kind of a douche or you don't like, trust him or whatever it is, yes, you could say that they were doing the Orange Man thing, but at the same time, at least they use a character that's consistently been kind of like this. Do you get what I mean?
Mhm. Yes.
Meaning that's their saving grace, that even if they wanted to do that, they at least chose a character that they can, I don't know if to say get away with it, sort of get away with it, and if in the reshoots they toned it down a bit,
Yeah.
yes, especially in that thing when he goes out to the podium and talks at the beginning, it really seemed like they were implying it, but it stopped short of being completely aggressive, and that may be what the reshoots did. In any case, like I said, that's the least of the movie's concerns.
Mhm.
Um, he becomes the president, and at the same time, you have this operation that Sam Wilson is now in charge
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
one thing I was gonna mention, that when they were doing the coverage of the there was a newscast that was
right,
inserted after his little speech, and they're talking about how is he going to lead, and how is he going to find common ground with important leaders like Captain America.
right. There was
And I'm
something
like,
stupid.
"What? Captain America's not he's a freaking superhero. He's not a politician. He's not an important
Right.
leader in the
That was
poli."
very weird. That was very weird. And I thought to, and they're like, especially with all the differences they had. And
"Sure,
the thing
sure."
is, this I was trying to struggle to think when even but like Thunderbolt, like Ross ever had any kind of interaction in these movies with Falcon. I was struggling to even remember what the connection here was because it's also confusing because there was a recast of an actor. So they recast an actor, the
Yeah,
original Hulk was a different Hulk. It's all very confusing. So when they did that newscast giving the exposition, I'm thinking, wait, what kind of relationship do they have? Because they made it seem like they have a rocky relationship. In
yes.
any case, at the end of the day, Sam Wilson is on this mission to try to, it was that. Did he know what it was that it was in that canister, or he didn't know at that point yet?
I think he knew. We were kept in the dark as to what was in the canister,
It's from
but
the
I think
celestial thing, right?
yes, it was, we do eventually find out that, yes, what was in the canister that they were trying to recover, that had been stolen, was a canister of containing a sample of adamantium that came from the Celestials, specifically from a mine operated by the Japanese.
Right. And then what happens is that Sam Wilson is able to arrive in time to save some hostages. Meanwhile, like, Giancarlo Esposito, he's the one that's like, the serpent or whatever it is. He's like the bad guy. Really, really not so. You could tell that there's so many reshoots that there's something a bit, I don't know if to say cheap. Something didn't feel 100% right, and just so you know that those early scenes, that early action scene was probably one of the better parts of the movie, and even that
It
one didn't
was.
feel like the opening, like, 5, 10 minutes were probably the best that movie was gonna get. After about, like, every additional 5 minutes, you felt like a dip in quality. Every time you see, like, 5 minutes on the clock, more dip, until you reach, like, the 2nd act, and you're like, "Wow, this is boring." But,
Yeah,
and
it really, the action scenes started off almost immediately with that first action scene. I had completely checked out because it just went right past my that level of believability. Right, there's the where he you got Captain America in his suit. He dive bombs from high altitude at like supersonic speeds,
right,
and then hits the ground with 0 impact whatsoever. Just sort of hits the ground. There's not even a noise.
right.
And then, oh, well, it's all absorbed in his suit because he has magical BS Black Panther suit now.
Right,
And
the
so
Wakandans gave him vibranium, and they make sure to
he's
remind you
yes,
exactly of all that
yes.
stuff.
And so he's got this the purple BS going on all over his suit, like the Black Panther did. And then wait for it. And then like 2 seconds later, then he explodes all that kinetic energy out of his suit, just like Black Panther. So you've got Captain America,
He
who
has a
has
Captain America shield. He
wings,
he has wings.
and Captain America's shield, and all of Black Panther's tech in,
Right.
in his suit, and no super serum.
No super serum, yeah, and then, later this was something that I saw Drinker tweet later that he said that he had the same, mask that Ant-Man had. I didn't was that it kind of looked like it, I guess.
It is similar. It does have a similar look to it. I don't necessarily think it's exactly the same, but I get where he's coming from. It does have a very similar look. In fact, did you see any of uh the popcorn buckets at your theater?
No, I didn't, and I didn't even take interest and look at them. I didn't see any of
Yeah.
them. What did they
Well,
look like?
they had some sitting right up at the counter where I went. So I saw they had one that was a basically just a bucket with a big, I mean, when I say big, I mean it was probably almost a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet wide plastic shield. It's a huge plastic shield. And then they had a different bucket that was was their helmets. I think they had versions for both, Captain America and the new Falcon Joaquin's helmet. But yeah, it was very reminiscent of Ant-Man, but it has different angles and stuff to it. So the thing that was the same was it uses the same stupid nanotech effect that they used for Ant-Man in the Quantumania films, where they sort of hit the side of their head and then there's just sort of sparkly crap that goes over their face and makes the
Right,
mask,
right, so,
instead of it being
maybe it's
something
not
more
the Ant-Man
practical.
thing proper, but it sure looks like it, so I think
It
I
is
understand.
similar, and I understand where people would find the similarities.
Right, and yeah, it just feels like they tried to the bottom line is they tried to, like, paste a bunch of things that don't belong to Falcon on Falcon in order to make him Captain America.
Mhm.
I don't like anything that they've done, and really, that whole show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, for whoever watched it, I couldn't stand that show because it was so overly political and so annoying and so preachy. And if there was one part that I didn't like about that show, it's the introduction of Isaiah and how it kind of feels random how they even introduced him in that Falcon and Winter Soldier. But the whole idea is that there was a black Captain America, and instead of rewarding him for his work, he was a super soldier. He was put in jail and like tortured for 30 years because he was
Mhm.
treated crappy because of I don't know if
Yeah,
it
I believe he served, like, he served in Korea, maybe?
I
And then
guess
when he came home, rather than, like, celebrating him, they locked him up
locked him up
and
because
tested on him and stuff, for decades, of
right.
course, because that's what you would do to a black man,
Right, because he
in
was
those
the
days.
black Captain America, so
Yeah.
they put him in jail and did bad things to him or whatever it was. Now, that was super heavy-handed in the show, and I thought to myself, if they're not stupid, if they're smart, they never talk about that guy again. That's what I thought to myself. I said
Yep.
the only way they can get away with a stupid Raven World movie, I mean the only way. One of the things that they would have to do is just don't remind me of anything that happened in that crappy show. Try to just like move forward and not to even pretend that that show didn't exist, and maybe do something that's like more interesting, and maybe you at least have a minor shot. But what do? 5 minutes into the movie, that Isaiah is there front and center.
Oh, yeah, he was, you're right after that first action scene.
Right
Yeah,
after the
there's a
first action thing, like he just comes out, he's already there. That's it. Like he's there, and then Sam Wilson gets this
yeah.
invitation to the president's event, and he's like, Isaiah, I really want you to come with me. It's so important that you'll be there with me. And now he also has like Danny, the actor is Danny Ramirez. He's called Joaquin something. I don't remember his last
Yeah,
name.
Joaquin, yeah.
Joaquin Torres. I'm gonna say I don't really
Yes,
know.
and oh boy, his introduction in that first action scene,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
so cringe.
So cringe, and he's,
Oh,
like, dancing and whatever, it's just so annoying.
he's this annoying ass zoomer
Right,
who's like, "Oh, I'm the best with tech." And then yeah, he basically he begs daddy to let him put on the suit so he can fly around in it, and
Right, and
then,
he's like, "I wanna be like you. You're
and then
my
he
hero. You're my hero." Just so
and then he
fucking annoying.
I think we might have shown it on here, or maybe you all might have seen it somewhere else. But yeah, he shows up and he gets into the little fight, and then like he does a little celebration dance. I think that clip was one that was
Yeah, I think
available
we
for
looked
the
at it.
film.
It was super
And
annoying.
if you thought it was cringe outside of the context of the film, in the context of the film, it's even dumber. So yeah, and then we also forgot we during that first action scene, we also get introduced to one of the baddies in the movie, which is Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder.
So who was didn't they have a serpent something, the
Yes,
Serpent
the
Society?
Serpent Society, Serpent, which is supposed to be like this paramilitary terrorist organization,
so
something like that, and
was
he's
Giancarlo part of that or no?
yes, he's supposed to be
Okay,
the
okay, yeah.
leader of that group. He's supposed to be the
Ah,
head of that
got
group,
it.
and he's just a totally generic heavy. There's nothing special or interesting about him, and in fact, I think he only shows up in, like, 2 scenes with any other main characters from the film. I
No,
think
you he
all of these things were reshot, like, outside of the other actors
I
being
I can
together in it.
I can confirm for you right now. Initially, they had a different actor doing something, some wrestling guy, I don't remember his name. Something happened after all those kind of test screenings. They hired Giancarlo Esposito late in the game, and they had him basically, the scenes that you see him, it's just him and Anthony Mackie. I don't think I saw any scene that it's not him and Mackie, and I feel like they just organized that late in the game. The part that really you can tell when when, Captain Falcon shows up at that base with those soldiers, and they're the ones holding Giancarlo Esposito. He's there, and it looks like he's going to talk to them. So he's with all these other people. In the next scene, he's just talking to Giancarlo Esposito. It's like a
Oh,
cut.
oh yeah. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, that scene made no sense. I was literally sitting in my seat going, "What the hell is happening?"
I think that it
Because
was implied that they were holding him, but because it was a reshoot, they didn't have a scene that shows how they let him go talk to him. So they just said like, "F it. We'll just make the next scene them talking, and people will just understand that he
it's
came to this base and that's where he is." But
it was just
did
Captain
that thing
America.
look
Oh
awkward.
yeah, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Okay, so let's see. We got there was one other thing we sort of skipped over as we were getting on to talking about Isaiah sort of coming into the story and going to the White House. Uh, we get to see Cap meet with Ross for the first time. We get to see Sam meet with Ross for the first time, and during their conversations, Sam says, "The country is lost." He tells this to President Ross Trump. Ross, the
Totally.
country is lost, and then after their conversations, he walks off and says something to the effect that Ross will never change who he is. He's not going to change. So, yeah. Yeah, we get to see we get introduced to Isaiah. He's going to be the trainer. He's going to train Joaquin how to be
He
Falcon.
also does a little bit of training with
Yeah.
Falcon.
Falcon and Sam, they're there. Joaquin and Sam are there training with him for a little bit before, yeah, they get the call that they're going to be invited to the White House because, of course, since they saved this sample of adamantium or whatever, they are then going to, oh, we're going to thank you by inviting you to the White House for this special, conference that we're going to have, and he
Right,
insists that Isaiah be invited to go along with them, and
right.
so they're going to be special guests. Now they they go to that event. They get things together. Isaiah puts on his best suit, the suit he got married to his wife in, whatever, and they show up at the event.
I
And
have to before we say that they show
yeah,
up to the event, I wanna say that there was something that bothered me.
yeah,
Again, this I'm not trying to offend anybody, I'm just giving my own 2 cents. I feel like too often when there's, like, a situation, especially with these kind of Disney things in MCU, The second that they have like a few black people like in a limo together or whatever, they start talking to each other very like, "Oh, you the OG. Oh yeah, you," like they're like,
And
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 then
they have to start playing
playing like rap music
hip-hop
and stuff and their
hip
hip
hop
hop
and
or
rap.
whatever.
I
You're
was
like,
like, "Oh god, really?"
it just feels like it's out of place and it's so kind of pandery and
It
strange.
was.
It's
It was
like you see
completely out of place.
Sam Wilson is is a character that we've seen through multiple movies. He wasn't like one of those like, "Yo, OG, yeah, yeah, I'm pumping popping that bottle, yo." Like, you know what I mean? I he wasn't like that. So seeing him all like that in the cab and then like everybody like acting like, yo, it's dope. Yeah, yeah, whatever. It just feels like you're I don't think that that's doing justice to the character. It feels very catery and very pandery, but also not consistent with the character we know. You know what I mean? Maybe if they introduced a new set of characters that they like to pop champagne in a cab and a taxi and listen to hip hop and call each other like yo, gee, yo, like it's fine. But I'm just saying like when it's established characters, it just seemed a bit odd to me and very pandery. It reminded me of those trailers that they start playing the hip hop. And they did that a few times in the movie. There were a few moments that I think there was, like, suddenly hip hop in the movie.
Yep. And yeah, suddenly hip hop. Yeah.
Suddenly hip hop, yeah. That's the best
We
that's
got
what
a
the movie
black hero, so we gotta have hip hop, right? Or
that's probably what
or
the
or
movie should be
or some
called.
kind of weird tribal drums playing or something if it's
Something like that, yeah.
uh if it's yeah,
And
Black
I say it
Panther.
again, when it's not consistent with what we've seen until now and it feels just like a pandering thing, I don't really like it. I think that Sam Wilson has established himself as a certain type of character. I just didn't I felt that that was kind of out of character. But maybe I'm wrong. That's just how I felt when I saw it. Anyhow, they show up at the White House, after they're pimping in their ride or whatever it is. They show up in the in
Yeah,
the,
show up
in
in
the
their limo that they get sent for, and they're in their suits and everything. Of course, this is both Sam and Joaquin as well as Isaiah are all there, and they're sort of mingling. They call the president calls Sam in, wants to talk to him, and this is a scene also that we've seen. It's part of the trailers where he tells him he wants him to help rebuild the Avengers, right? Uh,
It's so out of nowhere. The only reason they filmed that scene probably in reshoots was that they could do a commercial showing like a little scene where he's like, "I want you to put together the Avengers," just so some people may feel that tease. But in reality, it means nothing in this movie. He's not putting together any Avengers, not in this movie, and it's all just a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, they put the scene, "Oh, I really want you to put together the Avengers." Then they sit down, and suddenly there's like, assassination attempt like on the guy on like on Thunderbolt Ross. And
yes,
the strange thing is, it's one of those situations, kind of like the way the Winter Soldier was programmed. Three people, are seemingly kind of activated. One of them being Isaiah. That suddenly he is one of the people that tries to shoot him,
yes,
and
yeah. And was it not? Do you think they were trying to make it sort of confusing how uh, how these people started shooting him that we were supposed to not understand because I immediately knew what happened. I knew that they were being mind controlled. Did you think that they were trying to hide it, or
no,
I
I
was
kind of
confused.
I didn't think that Isaiah was really trying to kill. Like I knew that there was something like that. That it was one of those kind of like the Winter Soldier. I thought exactly that somebody had
Yeah.
been doing the words or whatever it is. That whole scene, by the way it plays out is really not very good. I
Oh,
don't.
no, it's awful. The action is confusing. The
It's confusing
shots
action. It suddenly
really
gets up. It's like see, I'll tell you, I know what the problem is. What should have happened was there should have been something showing that Isaiah is malfunctioning, meaning that something about him suddenly doesn't seem like him, and then he gets up and he does it. That would have been a little more interesting. Instead,
Mhm.
he just gets up and does it, and it's like, are we supposed
Well,
to think that the
there's a musical cue that sort of plays. You hear somebody's phone, like, playing a song or something. There's, like, the squeaky stuff maybe playing over a PA or something like that, and then he gets up and reacts and starts shooting at people, which is why I was like, instantly, "Okay, yeah, so he was just triggered. He's clearly being mind controlled somehow." I didn't think there was any mystery to that. It was just like, "Oh, look at that. People are being mind controlled. Wonder how
well,
that happened."
Whalem03 asks, fake Trump was almost assassinated too. Yes, but
Yes,
I have a
yes, he was.
feeling that this existed before. If anything, maybe in the
I'm
reshoots,
certain it did. I'm
I
certain it did.
I feel like in the reshoots, maybe they tried to tone this down somehow. I don't really know what happened in the reshoots. All I know is that the scene plays out, and like you said, I like that word, in a confusing way. Meaning, I
Yes.
understand what I'm looking at, but it's like, do the minimum. If they were going to be brainwashed, I think it would have been fair to show that Isaiah suddenly just even show a thing where he's kind of looking normal, but then his eyes light up and something happens. That would have made a little more sense because then he's just running, and it's like, Isaiah, what about this? What about that? I guess what I'm saying is it's obvious that they were brainwashed. So show that little cue just so that it flows a little more. Because there was no cue, it just comes out confusing. And Isaiah starts running, and at the end, he's like, "No, you got to give yourself up." And he's like, "No, I ain't never going to jail." And he's like, "No, you got to go back." Yeah, blah, blah. And then they arrest him, and they take Isaiah away.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds after this, now like Thunderbolt Ross is like the president. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want you to do anything anymore. Like you're not Steve
Yeah, get
Rogers.
out of here. We're not gonna redo the Avengers. You're not gonna be
No,
part of this. Get lost.
get
Like,
lost. You're not Steve Rogers.
you
You're not
brought a
this."
buddy in here that tried to shoot me, so you and he's like, "But that's not what happened," trying to it's so
Right. He's
ridiculous.
like, "Don't you see
Just
what happened? This and that." And he's like, "No." And then something even more, man, that one that he's like, "This is like my director of security," and like she has an accent, and
oh
she's like,
gosh. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
man,
Okay.
that
Alright,
was
but before we go on too much further, let's see, I wanna make sure, let's see, we were talking about the action scene here, that yeah, it was very confusing, because of just the way it was shot. I almost felt like there were some times in there where they broke, like, the 180 rule, right? Where you're like, "Wait, where am I
where
looking
am I?
now? What's
Yeah, you're
going
like,
like,
"What is
what's
this? Where am
happening?"
I? What's
It
going
was
on here?"
it
Yeah.
was completely confused. There was no there was no connection between the shots, and you really, it's just like you're looking this direction and then all of a sudden you're looking over here. You're not sure who's where and what's going on, other than they all seem to be in the same room, at least for most of the time. But yeah, that was a real mess. There was one other thing that happened in that scene where Ross gets up to tell everybody, about adamantium. He's introducing adamantium. Some people have been asking. I was going to try and address a couple things I saw in the chat too. So um, yes, they're saying, "Oh, we have adamantium," right? And so this has been mined from the skeleton, the body of the celestial that emerged out of the Indian Ocean in the Eternals. So that has finally come back into the canon of the films, other than just being sort of a joke, or a sideshow. That this adamantium is something now, a resource that they're mining from this celestial's body, and that is, of course, totally disconnected from where adamantium came from in the comics. Someone mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure it was Phantom Outsider. He's got the comic book knowledge. It was a special kind of alloy, actually, in the comics, and vibranium was part of it. There's other stuff, but basically you had to know how to make it and how to combine the elements together, and then essentially, like, once it was cast, that's when it became this indestructible material. If it's indestructible in the ground, how do you mine it? It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't
So,
make any sense.
the
Mark
so
D
the
with a C wanted to ask us, do they mention Wolverine? I don't think they do.
no, there was no mention of Wolverine. But the other thing I wanted to mention about this whole scene, when they're up there talking, they have the president, they have Ross say that the sample was stolen, and we have Captain America and this Joaquin over here to thank for recovering the sample for us. You do not say that kind of thing in public. You don't say, "Oh, we lost it. We had it stolen. We got it back." You don't. That's just projecting weakness, right? You don't say, "Oh, we got it
It is
stolen, but
weird,
we
yeah.
stole it back." You don't say that. That no president would go out there and talk about it like that. It's absurd.
Let's put it this way. It doesn't make sense, but like, if everything else was okay about this movie and that was the only thing, I'd say, well, for dramatic effect, they wanted to show that the president has their gratitude.
Yeah.
Realistically, that would have been something that he would have said behind closed doors, and I don't think
Exactly,
he would have said it in
exactly,
public.
and he
You
might even maybe he would invite them to the event, but he wouldn't publicly, in front of other world leaders, thank them for recovering something that our government was so incompetent as to have lost.
No,
That's
I
not
mean, what he could have said something different is that, you know, his government has it, and he really wants to thank, like, Captain America and his team because, they've, provided a lot of, like, great like, security for it when it was needed. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, something more,
absolutely.
like, diplomatic, just saying, like, you know, "I'm glad I have these guys, you know, in my corner here watching it because, they've really been
Yeah,
working
they're
like
here to help you secure it or,
right,
make
they've
sure that
really
it's
been
protected, whatever.
really been helping when it comes to securing it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's all you need to say. They helped to secure it, but you're not giving any more info. You don't want to say that like it was stolen and you're an idiot. You're
yeah.
right. You know what? I accept what you're saying. There was a much better way to do this.
That's just kind of a dumb thing. That's not how an actual
No,
politician would
no, it doesn't.
phrase they wouldn't talk about that. And
Again, I still think that if everything else was good, I could have maybe let it slide. But you're right. Amongst a bunch of dumb things, this is another dumb thing. But at this point, you know, Isaiah runs and whatever, and they catch him, and you know he's done for, and I don't know what, and they put him in jail. And then now Sam's like, I got to get him out of jail. Now there is something. When's the part that they introduce the lady who is his director of security?
yeah, that's this about that time. So they introduce her. She was originally supposed to be based on the character. I believe the character's name is Sabra,
Sabra, yeah, and it was
who's
supposed to be like
a
an Israeli superhero. That's
yes,
what it
an
was
Israeli
supposed to be.
superhero. Yeah, and but oh my god, what I don't know. Did you think that this was a little person when you first saw her?
You know what? I'm
She's
not
like the
saying that I
size of a child.
she wasn't, I don't think she would have qualified for a little person, but let's put it this way, she was very petite. She wasn't in a little person usually, I think, you know, is shorter, but let's just say that she was a very petite person. Certainly not good casting, in my opinion, for the role. I
When
didn't buy her
when
because she was so kind of petite and didn't seem like she fit. Scarlett Johansson, I thought was good. I mean, you know, for many different reasons, and she also really got into shape. I think that since her, both Florence Pugh, I don't think is a good fit, and I think that this lady, who they said was like, they changed her backstory. They're like, oh, was Israeli, but she was actually in the widow program or something
yeah,
like
she was
that.
an ex-widow. So, all I'm gonna say is Harrison Ford is sitting at the table, President Ross sitting at the table. She is standing next to him. She could not be more than 3 or 4 inches taller than Harrison Ford
She's very
sitting
short,
down. She is
very short.
insanely short, and she is also thin as a rail. So she could not weigh like 90 pounds. I'm telling you, there's nothing to this woman. I'm
There's
not
absolutely
saying she is not an attractive woman. I don't think she's not a knockout, but she's not ugly. I'm not
no.
saying
She
anything like that. I'm just saying, like, she is small. She is this really small
No, and
person.
also, I mean, if they were going, I'll say this also about Florence Pugh. If th- I'm sorry, but when I think of like a Black Widow type from the Widow program, I think of like Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, and for me, that's kind of the bar I want to see in my mind. You know what I mean? That's what I'm expecting to see. Somehow, since her, they want to cast women that are, you know, maybe okay. I'm not saying that I'm a supermodel, but again, I don't get paid millions of dollars to be in some superhero movie, and rightfully so. If you are a lady and you're getting paid for it, I prefer that they bring people that are like sort of, you know, in that category of like a Scarlett Johansson, that they're pretty, but they also went to the gym and they're kind of they know how to do the athletic thing and they do it. That's kind of what I want to see. Florence Pugh, I don't think she has the I mean she's cute maybe, but not like, you know, she's not like a femme fatale like Scarlett Johansson was.
Yeah,
And also her body structure is a bit more kind of
frail, thin.
well,
Yeah,
in the case of Florence Pugh, she's a little more what word am I looking for? She's I don't want to say plus size, but she's differently
I know what you
structured.
mean. Yeah, yeah, just, a little more built, a little
A little
more
built, something
yeah.
about her body structure doesn't give the same kind of, you know, effect as her as the widow. This one had a different problem. It's maybe the reverse Pew. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If Pew has like, you know, her bones are a bit bigger, this one this one that they had here was, like, very petite. And yes,
Yes.
again, maybe like a cute girl maybe, but she looked like a cute little girl, sort
Yes.
of,
So
but not
her height, Argentum in the chat says 5'2". I'm seeing sources saying anywhere from 4'9" to 5'2". I'm gonna have to say it's gotta be on the shorter side of that.
4'9", yeah.
It's
I
gotta be on the shorter side.
I would
She looks so small compared to the other people
I
in this
I
film.
think that in order to be more considered like a little person based on, people that I
Oh, I know what you mean.
that's
I'm
it's
just
more like up
I'm
I
just
see that up
kidding.
to 4 feet, like, 4 feet, 4 foot 1, 2, I think you're still considered a little person. 4'9", 10, 11, 5, like, though you're already then, like, leaving the realm of, like, little person and going more for just, like, very short and very petite, and I feel like this, it was a combination. I don't know if it was a language thing, but she wasn't the best actress. She didn't look like you said like a knockout, and body structure wasn't right for this role.
Yeah.
So really, she didn't. It's not like the movie relied on her one way or another. But out of all the dumb things that were going on in this movie, this was even weirder. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And then, there's also the fact that they sort of retooled her because they didn't want an Israeli character in their film.
Superhero, yeah. The question is, I wonder if initially when they filmed it, because it was maybe before, certain world events that happened, did they initially film her as being that Israeli superhero and then they had to reshoot it and make her like this other thing? Or they already very early on were able to already change it? I wonder.
Uh, I don't I believe the name of the character is the same. That just doesn't use the name Sabra in the film, but the actual name of the character is the same as in the comics. Her
Right,
name,
like Ruth Bet Saraf or something like that.
Ruth Batsarov. Yeah.
That means I think daughter of fire? I don't know.
Don't remember. Yeah. Uh,
People are welcome to check. I would think
but
that
yeah,
that's what it would be.
she would that particular character in the comics is a mutant, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so that's interesting, since we don't really have mutants so much
Mark
in
D
the
with a C
animation.
says, "My Italian grandmother was barely 5 feet, but she was a superhero with a wooden spoon."
Oh,
I
you don't want to get between someone and their Italian grandmother with a
right,
spoon.
and the
It's a
spoon,
bad
yeah.
idea. Bad
But
idea.
Istofobo says, that this actress looks like she's 4'10" max in her photos. Yes. I mean, I'm not trying to pile up on this actress. I don't know her. I think that, I wouldn't have cast this actress in this role. That's just my opinion. I
Let
would've
let's just say here's my problem. I think she did fine in the role. I had no problem with the acting. I think that the script was terrible. It's not going to matter who was in the role, as far as that's concerned. But she is so small as to just be laughable when you see this 90-pound woman taking out a 220-pound trained soldier and doing that multiple different
it's
times.
like a meme. It's like that stuff that we laugh about, like, in our
Yes.
memes and our like, all our jokes, and it's like the manifestation of all the memes and the jokes that they brought, like, a woman who yeah, she's very petite, very small, and doesn't seem like she could throw these people around unless she's superhuman and it was explained that she's like you said, like a mutant, and that was
Yeah,
confirmed, then you can say, "Okay, well, she's a mutant, that's why she's throwing them around." Without that explanation, which doesn't seem to exist here, taking at face value what we're seeing here, this is very, very awkward and very unconvincing. Now, initially, she seems to be like, whispering in the president's ear, and she seems like really, wants to get tough on Isaiah and stuff like that. But then, like Captain America, Sam Wilson Captain Falcon wants to go and visit Isaiah in jail, and then when he arrives, they're like, "I'm doing you a real solid here. Don't tell anyone." It's like, dude, if this guy just tried to kill like the president, supposedly, I don't think that you're doing anybody any favors. And the fact that Sam Wilson would think that anybody would just do him a favor, he's also an idiot. Do you get what I'm saying?
absolutely. Yeah, and
That would
well,
never. D- b- Beyond any kind of disbelief. That was just nutty. And then, of course, the second he leaves, like he comes visit Isaiah, and he's like, "I got to get you out of here." And Isaiah's like, "No, I don't want you to be tied to me. I'm gonna be here forever." I don't know what. And then like he
Yeah,
get
and well, and that's the other thing that I was laughing about. Okay, this is admittedly, this is a super soldier. This is someone who could punch his way through a wall. He could knock
I
out
thought of
any
that too. Why
guard.
doesn't he just punch through the wall and
He's
leave?
he's literally just locked up in a regular old prison.
I agree with you. Totally
Just a
weird.
regular old prison. And I'm like, this makes no sense. He could bend those bars. He could walk out here. He could knock that door down. It's like there's absolutely nothing that's going to keep him in. You just have him locked up in this regular old prison when you think he might be a presidential assassin who has the strength of a super soldier. We're just going to lock up in this regular old prison. No big deal. It
Uh,
makes no sense at all.
Somebody was asking if maybe the casting couch was involved. I
Oh,
don't
I don't
know.
think
I
it's
mean,
anything like that.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on this one, but all I'll say is that I think that if they were going I think that there were so many options of actresses in the world that could probably be athletic and have a little more femme fatale look to them. It's like they're going out of their way to cast the opposite of that. And I think that they really need to stop that. This one is like I always do those jokes and I'm like, "Oh, they make her look like a little boy." This actress in this role somehow maybe with these all these big like muscly people around her, she looked like a little boy. They even made her hair look weird.
Mhm.
Like everything about this was weird. And I, listen, I have empathy. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's fine. They offered her a gig and she took it, but it
Yeah,
really
I'm
really
sure she got paid well.
dumb casting. But yeah, in any case, that we barely even scratched the surface here of how bad this is.
Yeah,
So basically, what happens next? Remind me. It's already so
it's
jumbled
yeah.
in my mind. What
Here,
happens next here?
I was gonna say I can share a bit of the maybe share the trailer here, and maybe we can jump back and forth, and we can find some frames from this to show some of
Okay,
the
do it.
what we're talking about. Is it gonna let me share? Oh no, it's doing the thing. Maybe if I turn audio off, will it let me
Maybe
share?
if I stop sharing, what happens if you try now?
No, it's still doing the thing where it's not letting me share. Here, let me reload here.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Oh, he's back.
Hello,
I was
Let's
gonna start like a big party. People
oh,
are saying like
here we
Sydney
go.
Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney. At
Okay.
least she would have had the looks. If I would have preferred that. Yes.
So here she is right here. There's him sitting down, leaning back in his seat, and here she is. She's like just a head taller than he is, kicked back in the chair. She is short. So we get yeah we have we've got Isaiah. He's locked up in prison. Again, just regular old prison, nothing particularly special. And then after he goes and makes his visit, yeah, he tells him, I don't, do me a favor, don't get yourself wrapped up in this, whatever. And so then we get the whole, yeah, oh well, there's a black man being unjustly locked away. Yeah, we get it. Okay. But then we
But
just
you know
have
what's funny? I will say again, the movie is so bad that even when the preachy stuff comes along, you almost don't even care because there's nothing to care about. That's what makes like this movie so ridiculous. That like in a normal movie, if everything was a little more competent, this would stand out, and I'd be like, oh, they had to push that in there. But this is so bad that it's just like kind of sit there and laugh. And that's maybe how I felt about this movie. But go on.
yeah. So then next there's a whole bunch of different contrivances that we get for, oh, that these people are here and those people are there. How do we find them? How do we know? Oh, there's another shot of let's see if I can find her. There's another shot of Sabra or whatever her name is again. Let's see. So yeah, next up was we get a fight with Giancarlo out of nowhere. I don't really understand.
I think that
Um,
like Sam Wilson is in a car and suddenly just people start shooting at him or
yeah,
something.
he's driving along and just bullets flying, and so
The
we
reason they casted Giancarlo, I just want to say that because I think that they just wanted an actor who is so good at being a villain and so known for it,
yeah.
that they just figured we don't need to give him a bunch of backstory. Let's just put him in here, and people will be like, "Oh, okay, it's this guy. He's a bad guy," and everybody will just accept it because of how associated he is with these type of roles now. So they
Mhm.
just figured people are just going to accept it for whatever it is, and he's a good enough actor to pull this off, even if we don't give him anything to work with. And he tries his best. I mean, I think he is a good actor. It's just that there's at the end of the day, there's no substance here. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, he's a real generic heavy. I mean, there's really nothing special about his character in this anyway. He is how old is Giancarlo? Is he almost 70 now?
You know,
I
he's
don't
looking
know.
good for his age. I don't know,
Yeah,
he's in his 60s or whatever. He's looking good for his age. I won't take
yeah.
that away from him.
Well, he's got his medic alert bracelet and everything, so he's good. Uh, but we they have this just sort of ridiculous scene where he's talking about he told me that I would find you here, and if you survived the grenade, there was a 75% chance that you would try to talk me down. And so they start fighting. He literally stabs Sam twice.
That is so weird. He just stabs him and Sam Wilson is just like doesn't
Just
even pay attention.
shrugs it right the hell off, right? Just shrugs it off,
I was thinking to
and
myself, did he have like a bulletproof like something like how would he shrug it off?
well,
It's good that you're reminding me of this. It happened so quickly that he just nobody ever mentions it again. Oh, there's something like he's like, "Oh, you're going to need medical help." And then like you see him with like a band-aid or something. I don't know, like
so
there's
then
something that
he pulls out there's a knife and like a little hatchet that he's attacked with. He just shakes it off, uh, and then
that's
uh,
going to be memeable. That's so ridiculous. That is
and
so
so
ridiculous.
he pulls both of them out because they're both like implanted in it. So if it were some sort of protective vest, it would just glance off, right? You
Very
wouldn't like
strange. I thought that
y-
maybe he has a vest that I don't know about. I was wondering, it's good that you brought it up. It so quickly happens that I even forgot about it. But now that you reminded me, he does actually stab him with an axe and a knife. And the next scene,
he's running around
it's
dodging
like Bugs
bullets
Bunny.
and
Yeah.
and then he he pitches the axe at Giancarlo while he's reloading, but Giancarlo manages to shoot the axe out of the air while it's flying towards him. And then like he does something, he pours bleach out on the ground and it starts making smoke. I didn't even understand. Like they didn't show like that like he mixed it with anything. He's just pouring bleach out and it's causing
I
green
thought he was
smoke.
pouring it on like a car battery. I don't
Was
even,
that what it was?
I thought
I
he
did
was,
not catch what was happening there, but he
I
was
thought he was
pouring bleach
pouring
out
something
and
on a car battery and then there was smoke and it was
was
like,
was was making green smoke, and then he jumps him and he stabs Giancarlo, stabs Sidewinder. It basically the same place he got stabbed in the upper chest, and that's enough to take out Sidewinder.
right. And next time you see Sidewinder, that doesn't mean anything that he just got
Yeah, yeah.
stabbed either.
So
Like nobody
it
ever
does
mentions it again.
he's down and out. One he jumps him, stabs him, and then like he doesn't get up, doesn't fight back, nothing. So it's really strange. Very just the scene just sort of ends.
Right,
So
it sort of
so
ends weird, and then and just a quick spoiler, the next time you see Giancarlo Esposito, nobody even mentions that thing that he was stabbed, like, in
yeah,
his chest, like,
he has like a tiny little white bandage sort of stuck to his clothes
"Ah, right, right,
that has
yeah."
some blood on it. Like a little bit of blood. Like a little
Something like that.
stupid.
That's, like, the same with, like, Sam Wilson, he has a few bandages afterward.
Yeah.
It is so bizarre.
Yeah, and then they almost immediately after this whole scene, we get to go see treaty negotiations. Yay. We get to spend time because now the sort of the whole focus here of the plot behind what Ross is trying to achieve is he's trying to put together this international coalition of people I doubt there's any scenes in the trailer with it, but he's trying to put this international coalition together, this treaty where he's trying to make sure that all the countries of the world have some sort of stake in the adamantium, so that essentially, if he can negotiate the treaty, then that means America is going to get to be in control of the adamantium in one way or another. So really just dull. This is where I really started to realize that I had spent, you know, 40 minutes already in this movie, and a good half of it was just people standing around just saying exposition.
Totally. I also I went through a similar process and I'm like, wow, on one hand, I'm surprised that I've already watched like 40 minutes, and on the other hand, I'm surprised that I still have like another 45 or 50 minutes to go because of how like bored I am at this point. It manages to bore you. It's the worst thing that a movie can do is that you sit there and you feel bored. And that's what I was also telling you about all the agendas and stuff. You know, when you're so bored, even if it's supposed to be an allegory for Trump, it's not. It is messaging, it's not messaging. It's so dumb that the boredom is kind of overcomes everything else.
Yeah, so we get he after this thing with Sidewinder. Apparently, he gets taken out, and they get back together. He joins back up with Joaquin. Some people were asking earlier about what, whose Falcon was, who's Captain America. Yeah, the Falcon is now Captain America, and now there is Joaquin, who's sort of his charge. He's the this guy he's sort of training to use the wingsuit and everything, and is
This
sort
same
of his.
actor, I believe, existed in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show as a soldier that was helping Sam Wilson.
He may
And in
have, yeah,
this one, it seems like, a few years have passed, and now the young guy, like you said, Sam is letting him use his wings, and he's sort of filling in the role as Falcon, which is really
yeah,
stupid because Falcon is Falcon and Captain America is Captain America. Never liked all of this. Whatever this
yeah.
is, I don't like it. But
Well,
go on.
what's funny, the Joaquin character in the comics, he was in there, and he did take over the role of Falcon after in some of the all new, all Marvel
Right, but it was
garbage.
after they
Uh,
already alienated their whole, like,
Yeah,
reader
but,
base. Yeah, but go on.
that particular character was not just a guy who took Falcon's wingsuit and put it on. He was a, like, mutated guy who had been experimented on, and he had actual wings. He was, like, half bird in the comics. So it's really bizarre, but, so yeah, he gets back together with Joaquin, and, they're trying to track down, like, where, they're convinced there was this signal that came, and they're able to look through some of the footage, and they find out that, there was some people who were at this get together where they were with Isaiah, where the assassination attempt took place, and they were looking at their phones, and there were weird flashes of light coming off of their phones, and
Basically,
they.
just like sort of Bucky Barnes would get, brainwashed with words, they're seeing something flash on their cell phones that's causing them kind of hypnotizing them
Yeah,
into wanting to kill the president.
yeah, so
And
programming them, and then they get activated when there's this song that plays, Blue
right,
Man, Blue
some
Moon,
crappy
Sweet Thing.
song, I don't remember which song it
Yeah, it
is,
was an oldie.
some
uh
oldie song plays, but not even an oldie that I even knew. It wasn't like a very known
Yeah.
oldie.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly great, but then, so they figure out that there's this, black site, out in the middle of, I think it was West Virginia? Is that where it was? There was this black site that,
Yeah.
that they can trace it back to, and so they go to this place, Echo One or something. And when they get there, immediately Cap knows exactly what all of the Sam knows exactly what all of the patrols are and how long they have to turn off the security systems and break into it. Like, he just knows this immediately on showing up. I missed the part where they did all the reconnaissance to figure out how long it took patrols to move around the base, and what kind of security system they had, and how long it would take to breach it, and everything. It was just bizarre. It was like, hey, we have 28 seconds. Sure you do. I guess so.
Is that the
They
is that where they meet, Stern
So
something?
yes, that's when the Stearns, who is also he is the character, the leader. Yes, he is the one who's been locked up in this black site. So they when they get into it, they find there's pictures everywhere of all of these people who've been brainwashed and targeted. There's all sorts of research and there's labs and all sorts of stuff inside the buildings, and they're looking around, and that's when they run into Stearns. Again, it would be the character, the leader from primarily a Hulk villain, but they've got him here. What did you think of the leader of Stearns?
He seemed kind of underwhelming. I mean, just everything from the way he looked and, thrown into here felt kind of underwhelming. I don't know how else they could have made him look, but there's probably a way to make him look better than what we saw. Maybe part of it is because it was rushed in the reshoots or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, out of a film of a lot of bad things, I don't know if that he was the worst thing, but he just, at the same time, didn't really blow me away either. It was just kind of forgettable.
I yeah, I didn't hate it. I actually like Tim Blake Nelson. I think he's a pretty talented actor. I thought his portrayal of the character was fine. This felt like he was kind of a nothing. Mark D with a C wants to know if Leader has a big green head. No. He does have strangely glowing eyes, almost like
He almost looked like a Doctor Who villain from the 70s. I don't
something.
really know
Yeah.
how to explain it. Like, there was something very lo-fi about the way they made him look.
Yes. The
Maybe that's just my imagination. Maybe they were rushing. I just don't know.
He doesn't have the big, like, overgrown head like a Star Trek alien or something, right? He does have the his head is a little larger and then sort of ridged like a brain, like his brain pushed out and, like, the skin was just sitting right on top of his brain. It was kind of weird looking and very, very mutated and messed up looking. It was very uneven, kind of one of his ears is a little messed up, but yeah, I did not like the approach they took with that. Sometimes it looked just cheap, and other times it was kind of grisly. Like I don't know. It really didn't fly with me, but the character just feels like a nothing burger. It's just kind of like, oh, he's this guy that's really smart. Okay, sure. I mean, maybe that's all he was in the comic books, but that was
Yeah,
just
I
like,
don't know. I was underwhelmed. I didn't think that the actor was at fault here. I was
no.
underwhelmed with how he looked. And again, when a movie isn't working, when everything about it feels off, then something like this, doesn't necessarily get well received. I didn't think he was a great villain. At least the only thing I'll say is they managed to somehow explain what his motivation was, which is better than nothing. Because in some cases you
Yes.
don't even know. With like Giancarlo Esposito, you don't know anything about that character. He just shows up, he's
Yeah,
shooting, he leaves. Like
sort of there, he's a mercenary, he shoots at people,
right? They
and,
gave him a check to he went to the bank, he cashed his check like to be in the movie, and that's what you feel when you see him. And at least with the leader, I think that at least there was an effort, however minimal and misguided. There was some kind of effort to at least explain what his reasons were for doing what he does. Even then, it was kind of dumb, but yeah, so dumb that the professor has disappeared. So,
oh,
oh,
so
the professor is back.
my audio just dropped out. I was still connected, but I couldn't hear you, and my mic was acting like it was disconnected and everything. It was
So,
weird.
so at this point, they're at this facility, and the leader is there. Uh, do they take something from there that then he reaches the conclusion that Harrison Ford, like Thunderbolt Ross, something's wrong or something was
So
done with
yeah,
him?
they're talking to the leader. I don't think there's anything in the trailers from where they're talking to the leader, but they're talking to Stearns. He never goes by the leader in the show, by the way, in the movie. But yeah, he goes by Samuel Stearns. But yeah, they learn a lot of stuff in there. They find some pills, and they find something about how there's like a script, for a prescription for these pills for Ross. And so they're like, what is going on here? And they find all sorts of medical records and stuff. And then when they finally confront Stearns uh about, like, what's he doing there and everything, he brings in a bunch of soldiers that are all carrying on, like, Klingon pain sticks, taser things. And then there's a big fight scene, which is pretty lame. Did was not a good fight scene at all. And while they're doing that, we get to see the other lady, uh, Ruth Beth Seraph, who shows up to help them fight. And so she's there because the president asked her to go check up on Stearns at this black site, because he knows that he's there and that he's been locked up there essentially for years. He's been Ross's lackey, right? He's been there, imprisoned uh, illegally. He's being held by Ross and being used for his genius or whatever to help solve various different things for Ross. And he wants to get back at Ross for locking him up there and not letting him go. Essentially, it's implied pretty strongly that he won the presidency
Right.
because Stearns helped him with various different things to get there. And there's other things that we find out later on that he helped with as well. But they have a fight in there, and we get to see a 90-pound woman taking out a 220-pound man with body armor and whatever.
Very weird. Yes.
Several times we get to see this.
There's another question I have for you. At some point, Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, gets a phone call, I guess, from Stearns,
Yes.
and then in that phone call. Basically, he understands that Isaiah wasn't really the person. Did he already understand it there, or does he not understand it? I'm so confused. I'm trying to think
I
now.
think he learns at that point, that because up to that point he believes that Stearns has been under control.
Right.
That in fact, the phone call that he gets says Warden something. It's the guy who's sort of in charge of that black site and keeping Stearns imprisoned. And
Right.
then it's Stearns is on the phone talking to him, so he knows that Stearns has gotten loose, and he basically tells them that this is what, here's what I'm trying to do to get back at you, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna end your career and get my life back and whatever. Um, so they leave. They get accosted by more soldiers, like FBI people that are arresting them, even though literally the president ordered them, or ordered at least the one lady there, and she's vouching for them. But whatever. And then
That's
of
weird
course
too. Yeah.
they get mind controlled and try to kill them, so they escape. That's when they go and they just go to some other base somewhere in Virginia. There's no indication as to why they go where they go, or what reason they're going to the particular place that they're going, except that when they arrive, there's somebody there that's supposed to help, that's going to help look into these pills that they found and some of the stuff they found uh, about Ross. And for whatever reason, at this base in Virginia is where they have Sidewinder, right?
Right. Before I get there, because that's very interesting. That is a very crazy thing we're about to talk about. Six is saying, why wouldn't she be able to kick his butt? It's a superhero movie. If she was billed, it was explained to us that she's like a mutant with super extra strength, even though she looks like a little boy. I would have said, okay, then at least explain that. But with no explanation whatsoever, just seeing this this very, very, very petite little girl throwing men around that are like 200 pounds. That doesn't make sense even within the logic of the universe that we're
No,
watching.
not at all.
Even in something fictional, you have to stay true to the rules of that universe, and you have to make it make sense there. if anybody that's just 2 pounds can throw around people that are 200 pounds with nothing, with no special power or anything, it really cheapens what you're trying to do and makes it look dumb.
It just strains believability. I mean, yes, there are martial arts you can use where you use the other person's weight against you, whatever. But when literally the person that you're fighting could just pick you up and dangle you by your clothes because you're less than half their weight. I mean, we're talking about these big, like, special forces, bulked up dudes in full armor and all sorts of stuff, and she's just jumping on them and throwing them around like crazy. It's a little ridiculous. It's different if they're superpowered. You're right, but there's no indication whatsoever in this that she has superpowers. She has just been trained as a widow is the excuse that they give. It's Mary White, yes, a suspension of disbelief. You need a lot of that
Right.
for some of this. So,
Exactly.
but they find this is the part that really just I would just flummoxed. I guess would be a good word for it. They go to this base and Sidewinder is there. And this was
Why
you were
why is he
alluding.
being held there? This is so weird that Sidewinder was there, and the fact that you see, Sam Wilson with all these other people, and then cut to the next scene that he's just like looks like something like an alley that he's talking to like Sidewinder.
They're just
So
hanging out outside the front doors.
outside,
He's not bound, he's not tied up,
nothing.
nothing. They're just sort of standing around having a chat.
I feel like
This
they had
this guy
Giancarlo.
tried to kill him the last time they saw each other. He's a bad guy. They're just standing around having a freaking chat. And even worse, Sidewinder is just spilling his guts, telling him everything he knows about Stearns. There is no reason for him to do this. There is absolutely no motivation for him to just start pouring his heart out and telling Sam everything he knows about Stearns and the plans that he has and everything that that he is going to do. It's ridiculous.
I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. That whole scene really, like, when I saw it, I was just shocked. Like, it felt so out of place, that scene that he's talking to Sidewinder. Like, the way that it jumped from that scene to that scene, that feels like very reshooty. And with the reshoots, I really feel like they had Giancarlo Esposito for maybe like a day or two, and they really quickly put this together. They're just like, let's do scenes with like Sam Wilson and Giancarlo Esposito. They're talking here, they're talking there. There's a shootout. They're doing this, they're doing that, and then they just paste it into the movie somehow. I don't know if Giancarlo Esposito is ever seen on screen with anybody except for Sam Wilson. Trying to think if he's ever seen, maybe in the part that maybe that he has a few men that when they're hostages at the beginning, but most of the time it seems like he's just talking to Sam Wilson.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, it's my audio's a little messed up again.
It's
So
okay, but bottom line, so after this scene, do you remember what happens next?
after that, they there's a conflagration building in the Indian Ocean. Is that what you're referring to?
Which is the one that somehow Japan is trying to,
Yes.
something that they're
So
gonna blow up the
Japan
Japanese
is
people or something. It's so dumb. This is the point where once this started, I was struggling not to fall asleep. And just to explain, I have this thing where I watch a movie that it's so dumb, it like that like my it's almost like my mind is rejecting it. Like I start almost as like a defense mechanism. My mind wants to fall asleep because I'm watching something so awful. Uh, that's how I started feeling. I didn't fall asleep. But in that part with the Japanese thing and the missiles and whatever was going on there, man, that was annoying.
Yeah, so the Japanese essentially say, "Oh, well, you're not a trustworthy partner." They get some evidence that it was actually the Americans that stole Japan's adamantium. And then he says, "Well, if we stole it, why would we need to steal it back? That doesn't make any sense." But of course, they don't want to listen, and so then they decide, "Oh, I guess we're going to go. We're going to send our Japanese fleet out here, and then we're gonna go to war with America over this stuff." Um, Geopolitically, that makes absolutely no sense.
No
Just
sense whatsoever. Yeah.
FYI, makes no sense at all. And but then, yeah, then we find out that all of this is happening. We know that Sam and Joaquin are in Virginia. Virginia.
Right.
45 seconds later, they're flying over the Indian Ocean.
You're right. I just at this point I think I was so annoyed that even these kind of logic things I'm just like, oh, whatever. But yeah,
Yep.
I agree with you.
It cuts away to one scene, and then they're flying over the Indian Ocean. So it's like, that even supersonic, that's many hours away. That's basically on the other side of the globe. Well, no, they're just there. We just suddenly we're in the Indian Ocean. So yeah, they're there to they're there to intervene in this conflict to try and stop what's going on here and stop this war from breaking out. And it turns out that on that other end, we have the U.S. and the Japanese navies now. They're going to be sort of duking it out. They're posturing here. So what is that? What does Six have to say here?
And then, okay, I just want to address this with the Six was saying. It just seems like the believability is in proportion to the attractiveness of the character actress. Well, let me put it this way. First of all, having a woman look nice and being a femme fatale, it's always helpful. If a woman looks nice, it is very, very helpful. But beyond all of that, I still think that Scarlett Johansson, she went to the gym, she got into shape, and her scenes where she was doing like action were actually well done. I thought you could tell from a lot of those kind of behind the scenes footage or whatever that she really put a lot of work into it. Scarlett Johansson for years would get up and go to the gym like every day for hours, to when she was tied to this franchise. And she took that very seriously. And I think you saw that in the movies. Beyond the fact that I also, think that the look was better, but I also think that the action and her getting into shape was better. Florence Pugh, on the other hand, doesn't have either the shape of Scarlett Johansson or maybe not the same type of body structure. She's not as athletic. At the same time, also, it also, there's no other way for me to say it. She's cute, but she doesn't look like a femme fatale like, like Scarlett Johansson. And this lady, this new one that they put, I think she's less than the other two. She's even less than Pugh. It's like every time they do this, they're even more off target with their casting. The one that they brought for this movie, I don't have anything against her, but she does. She's very, very petite, very small. I would say she looks like a little boy, but her hair is sort of. They make a weird haircut that, like, the way she combs it almost looks like they wanted her to be a little boy, but they just stopped short of that.
Yeah,
So
it's very tight, that hair. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's she's just it's so unbelievable because she's so small as to be like literally like it would be like a a trained special forces soldier picking up a child, right? It's not it's not believable that that person is going to be able to toss that other person around in as small as they are. I'm not saying she's not an unattractive person. She's not ugly. She,
no, but they didn't do her any favors the way they made her with the hair. They almost
no,
gave her
not at
like the
all.
hair like she's combed like Frau Farbissina
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
Austin Powers. There was probably a way to make her look a bit more appealing, but it's almost like somebody said, "No, we can't do that. Like we have to make her look like the lady from Austin Powers."
Mhm.
If the lady from Powers was like a little boy.
Yeah.
In any
So
case, so go on. Yeah. So
no,
so
yeah.
the,
So the next we have the just absurd fight over the Indian Ocean, where we have Captain America. We have Sam flying around, uh, knocking missiles out of the sky, surfing on missiles. I'm not joking. He
Oh, and there's
literally
2
surfs
pilots
on
that,
a
like, are
missile.
being programmed by the Stearns guy. So those
Yes, yeah. There's
American
two
pilots.
pilots that are programmed. They're
Now
being
there was
controlled by
something,
Stearns.
and I maybe now I'm wrong. There was something that, like, the pilots were already bad, and it felt like only like 70 hours later did I see Captain America, Sam Wilson America, and the fake Falcon. They only tended to him. It seemed like what seemed like hours later. I can't explain
It
it to you.
seemed
Like,
like it took quite a long time to deal with them, yeah.
right? I mean, it looked like they were suddenly doing it, and by the time they dealt with them, I almost forgot those two pilots existed. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't recreate it because I can't explain it. I feel like something was happening, and then suddenly they went back to them, and I was like, "Oh, those pilots!" Like I myself had to explain to myself what I'm even watching. That part really, that was the part that my brain was like, "Why don't you go to sleep?" Like I had these kind of
Well,
voices in my head.
I know why, it's because there's an extended scene of exposition on the ship. Well, they arrive there, they're on the ship with the president, with Ross, and there's, like, this just long, dragged out exposition while they're there on the ship, and it's dull as dishwater. It's like, "Can we move on, please?" Right? So then yeah, but then
Remind me,
we
what do
do
they even
finally
talk about? Can
see
you remind me?
what?
What do they even talk about on the ship? It's now
Oh,
blank for
it
me.
was more about Isaiah and being locked up and him knowing that, he wasn't guilty
Ah, it's
and
like you knew he wasn't this and this.
yeah, and more like, "Oh, stay in your place. I'm the president. I was a wartime general. Now I'm gonna be a wartime president," and
Is this the
this
part that they also asked him about the pills and like, well, why are you this? Why is your DNA there? Like, what happened to you? Is that
Yes.
like when they start asking? He's like, don't talk to me. I'm the president. Get
Yeah.
out of there.
Yeah, yeah, you don't get to ask me that, whatever. And then eventually he breaks down, tells him, "Yeah, I was holding him because he was,
I
he
had it. I
I was
was
using
sick.
him for all sorts of different stuff." And
I
then
was sick and I needed to get better. That was the
yes,
only way.
yeah, he eventually breaks down and says that yes, he was dying. He had some sort of a heart failure thing going on, and nobody knew
Right.
what to do to treat it. But the leader Stearns, he was able to figure it out and was giving him this drug that he had been taking, and it had given him the strength to carry
And
on. And everything he's doing, he did it all. He's done it all, and keeps fighting because he wants to reunite with his
that
estranged
was
daughter.
so stupid. That was so stupid. He's like, yeah, when she was young, I walked her in the rose garden, and now I want to do it again. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
want to go
oh,
look at the cherry blossoms.
we would look at the cherry blossoms when she was young, and I have to do that again. And those were parts that were really, really bad. That's like when that happened in the movie, you knew that this movie was really in a bad place with that stupid like speech about his daughter in the rose garden. Man, did that start like really going off the rails at this point.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. So yeah, there's that long exposition. It's just as dull as it could be. So then they do finally they get out and they start fighting, trying to bring down these two rogue pilots who have been controlled by Stearns, and they're attacking the Japanese fleet. And now the Japanese fleet uh, starts to attack the American fleet, and so they're out there trying to block missiles and stuff. Yes, Captain America surfs on a missile. Couldn't okay. And then we get to see Joaquin flying around. He manages to take one of the planes out and then shoots like a dart blast something out of his hand into the cockpit of the plane and hits the eject button.
Right, right.
Like
Oh,
while the plane is spinning out of control and everything, he manages to hit this like at distance. It's ridiculous. But so the pilot ejects, and then he goes on, and there's more missiles flying, and Joaquin. First of all, this airborne action scene just goes on
goes on forever. I
for
felt like
effing ever.
this seems to be like you'd think that this would be like a climax in the movie. Instead, this was the part that I was battling myself not to fall asleep, which is
Oh,
very rare because this is exactly the type of thing I'd want to be awake for. But man, that scene, I don't know with how it's constructed, with everything built up to it that's so kind of lackluster and stupid. I just want to say, Phantom Outsider here says so. General Ross takes drugs provided to him by so much for that war on drugs. Did he ask, are there any side effects? Of course not. That's another thing. You have to be a stupid idiot to think that this guy is going to give you any kind of medication
Yeah.
that's not going to do something bad.
You've
The
got
fact that he
you've
trusted
got this
him,
dude locked up.
right?
You
Like
think
the
he's
guy
just
was
gonna
locked
give
up
you
for I don't know how many years, and he's going to now help you. Wants you to get better. I don't
Yeah.
think it works that way.
Well, so yeah, during at the end of this interminably long action scene, Joaquin does something kind of stupid, says, "No, I'm gonna go take out this missile. I got it," and he
Right.
goes to take out this missile, and he does it, but it blows up extra close to him, and it destroys one of his wings. And so he tumbles out of the sky, going at incredibly fast, and smashes into the water from probably, I mean, he was probably over 150, 200 feet up when he came down at least. And so smashes into the water. I got news for you.
You die.
That you are meat pudding
Right. I
at
agree.
that point.
I
There's a reason that people jumping off tall bridges into the water
They
almost
didn't really even make an effort to somehow explain how he wasn't pudding,
I
but I
mean,
wanna say that, Six gave a super chat now
yes, or a
of,
super sticker.
a super s sticker, 99 cents, it's a pile of poop with a face.
Yes, smiley poops. So thank you.
Thank you so much, it's very, very kind of you, Six.
But yeah, I mean, I will say that at the very least, Joaquin did not just get up and walk away. He was severely injured. They even mentioned at one point, like his heart stopped, and they're working really hard to save him. He's in the ICU.
I
So
mean, again, by the end of the movie, which is like 5 minutes later, he's already, like, in great spirits, but
yeah,
yeah, like
he's sitting up and chatting, whatever. He seems to be fine. But yeah, I mean, at the very least, there was some consequence there for him. It wasn't He didn't just get up and walk away from it. Unlike what happens in the climax of the movie, where Sam Wilson should also be meat pudding, but he seems to have no trouble whatsoever. Uh, but yes, they finish this standoff. This airborne action scene wraps up with Joaquin getting severely injured, and while they're at the hospital, checking up on him, we get to see Sam's old buddy,
Bucky.
Bucky. Yes, Bucky shows up.
That also felt like a reshoot of sorts. I don't know, he just
Absolutely. Oh, that was totally a reshoot.
felt like out of left field. And the other weird thing, they're like, "Oh, Bucky's gonna be a senator now." He is? Like,
He's gonna be he's running for office.
he's running for office. They're like and some lady's like, "Well, Bucky is running to be the senator."
He's gonna be
And
the next senator of whatever, and
somebody
it's like,
just throws that sentence out there and like, what's his face? Sebastian Stan just shows up in a suit. They're like, "He's running for Congress." And then he's like shows up, and that is the most like reshooty scene of
oh
reshoots.
yeah.
And he's
It
just like, he tells him, "I should have taken that serum, Steve. Steve, I'm not Steve," and blah blah blah. And Bucky's like, "No, you the man. I
Oh,
love you,
yeah, no,
bro."
he asks Bucky if, he says, "Did Steve make a mistake?" And, Bucky's answer should have been, "Yeah, he did make a big mistake, actually. The shield should have gone to me because I have a super soldier serum, and,
Right.
yeah,
You're
I'm
just
actually trained
Falcon.
as an infantry soldier."
Right, something like that. But instead, he's like, "No, Steve knew what he was doing. You were the
No,
right
he
man
knew
for
what he
the
was
job. You the best, bro. I love you, bro." He actually says that. I think he says like, "I love you, bro." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "What am I even watching?" And then
Says,
he like leaves, and that's it.
"Yeah, I
It's
love
like
you. Now I gotta go to a campaign fundraiser."
you want to tell me that if there's a threat and this involves the president and the world and I don't know what, and Bucky is there, he's gonna go now and do like a fundraiser to talk to like potential voters. That doesn't sound like anything we've seen from Bucky until now.
Yeah.
It is completely out of left field. It doesn't make any sense. Bucky would be there even if he's not Captain America. I feel like Bucky, knowing that there's a real threat, would be there front and center working with Sam Wilson. I don't think there's a situation that he would be, just showing up for one scene and telling him he's going to go do like a luncheon to get like voters or something. I
Yeah.
don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's so stupid. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, yeah. Take care, Captain America. Sorry about those business loans you couldn't get earlier, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do a campaign fundraiser so I can run for Congress. What? Oh, geez. Yeah, I laughed out loud in the theater. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, what?"
Six says, "Wait, he's in a suit. That's better than shirtless. Can you describe the suit? What color tie is he wearing?" I think it's a black tie from what I remember, and it's just like a black and white, like
Yeah,
black suit with a white button-down shirt. He looks very proper, like he's going like a black tie event.
yeah, like most of Marvel, it's in a very dark room as well, so,
Dark
yeah.
room, out of left field, reshoot of the reshoots.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, go on now. Go on.
No, so, yeah, Bucky is a politician, that was hilarious. We get to see for somehow, some way, Stearns, the leader, shows up at the base in Virginia where they were, before, where they were holding Sidewinder, and just shows up there and encounters the guy that did the research, the guy who was in charge of finding out what was in those pills that they found.
Right, right, and then the
Just
guy.
manages to just find him, and then uses a sound based weapon to stop his heart.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I was like, Okay, you just have this little doodad in your hand as a sound weapon." And I was like, "What's next? Is he going to use the brown note on the rest of the soldiers? They're all going to crap their pants." I was like,
Yeah, so it's something like the soldier wanted to warn Sam Wilson that
yeah,
like
somebody called him and told him, whoever it was that was researching those pills for him, gave him a call back and said that the pills contained a bunch of gamma radiation. Of
but
course, you
they
would
never
know
get
that
a
because
chance to tell him, right? Because
the
that
pills would
guy.
be emitting gamma radiation.
Right, but they
But
never get a chance to tell him that because Stearns kills him.
yes, yeah, kills him with his little sound-based weapon that
Yeah.
stops his heart. Um, so we we see that little aside, and then we have no idea how the leader knew where it was or how to get there or how or how he got there or anything. And then uh he shows up at some other military guy's house and kills the family so he can use the phone.
Right, right, yeah.
I totally I was like, I don't know what just happened.
I don't know either. Now that you've explained it to me, I thinking, you know how sometimes you watch a movie that like so many stupid things are happening, and at some point you're just going like, oh, another stupid thing.
You just
So
sort of
like
give
it
up.
doesn't even mean anything. But really, why did he go to that house? Now that I
No,
think
there's
about it,
there's no explanation whatsoever why he ends up at this house, why he knows the guy's an admiral, why he kills the family so he can use their telephone. I just it's so weird.
I don't
There's just
understand it. Yeah,
absolutely no
what was the end
explanation
game
at
there?
all. What?
What was his end game? I don't even understand. Why did he kill that family? I now
He 'cause he needed to use the phone? Uh, yeah, I
sounds
have
really
no idea.
strange.
No idea. We move back to, from there, we go back to Washington, DC, where, they've managed to put their differences aside, and they're gonna make this treaty happen. So, or we forgot to mention while they were on during the interminably long action scene with all the planes and everything. The leader calls the president and is talking to him, telling him he needs to give in to his rage and whatever. And you see him, sort of briefly, like he starts to sort of hulk out a little bit in the hallway. He starts like squeezing some steel on the wall, like this beam or
Right.
something, and starts
And he like
crushing
bangs
it.
on the table or something.
Yeah, and so then we get to the White House, and they're doing this announcement and everything, and then you find out that somehow I never really understood how this connection happened, but Sam is just sort of sitting outside, and Stearns just walks up to him
Just
outside,
walks up to him. He's like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And it's
like,
like, "What?"
"Hey, what?" No explanation as to,
No
like, how they knew
explanation
each other
needed,
was
yeah.
they were gonna be there, or why Sam was waiting there instead of being inside with the announcement or whatever. But anyway, he confronts him and basically says, "The only way I'm gonna get what I want is by turning myself in," saying that he's already called the cops, whatever, they're already on their way. Um, and that he wants the only revenge that he wants for Ross to be the monster he wants everyone to see Ross for the monster he really is, and then his daughter will also see what a monster he is, and he'll never get reunited with his daughter. So it's all about just sort of this personal grudge he has against Ross. And then while this press conference is going on, there's essentially that I forget, I don't remember what it was, but there was some news report that starts popping up on everyone's phones. Do you remember what
Oh,
it was?
I know what happens, I know what happens. Earlier on, uh, Stearns records a conversation between him and Ross,
That's
and
what it
in it
was. Yes.
he basically admits, I think, that, they work together, and he's admitting a lot of stuff there, and, like, also acting, like, grumpy and threatening him and whatever it is. So this whole conversation is just a very, very bad look for Ross. So as Ross hears that this conversation is being played on the loudspeakers, he gets really upset, and for the first time ever, he, like, hulks out and turns into the Red Hulk.
Yeah, Red Hulk. Yeah. And the Hulk out scene it looks awful. The CGI
It's
is
not very good, yeah, I
it's
feel like we've
terrible.
seen better than that, and even in
Yeah.
this years ago, we've
Uh,
probably seen something better
yeah,
than this.
it's pretty terrible. And so yeah, and so then Ross Trump goes raging and destroys the White House.
Right.
Are you getting it yet? Yeah.
Y Yeah, I guess. I mean, listen, like I said, if this was a spectacular movie, I could get a lot of things, just, there's enough difference about what Ross is than Trump is. I mean, he's a former general. He's actually a character that's established, and he acted like a douche before. So I don't think it's completely a stretch. Knowing how Disney are and their stupid bullshit, I'm sure it crossed somebody's mind that they were doing this propaganda thing. But like I keep telling you, the movie is so bad that it almost like doesn't even let me think about the propaganda. Same way I felt like when I watched like Madam Web, that you could argue that there was like anti-male propaganda there, but the movie is so laughably bad that your brain doesn't even get to that part because it's busy like looking at it and just being stunned at how bad the movie is. And I feel like this movie for me had a similar effect, that beyond any kind of agenda peddling, it's just a really poorly told story.
No, no, it's dreadfully,
Dreadfully.
badly told
But
story.
go on. So he turns into the Red Hulk, he hulks out, whatever.
Yeah, he hulks
You go
out,
on.
he starts trashing the White House, and, at one point, he grabs a flagpole and swings it, and, Sam just catches it with his hands. I don't really
I
understand how
don't
that works.
understand all of this. Sam would be dead in like 2 seconds in some of these things. Like
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they're just there's something about what happens here that they think that they're being clever, but they're cheapening the kind of powers you see in the MCU because it doesn't ring true to what we're seeing here.
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. So, clearly, so Sam is supposed to have his vibranium suit with all of that Black Panther stuff with the where it can absorb kinetic energy and whatever and release it. It's supposed to have all that stuff built into it,
The
and then he's got
Ant-Man mask,
Cap's shield.
the
Yeah.
Ant-Man style mask.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, but anyway, he's got this stuff, and then so he hits him, and he starts glowing purple, just like uh, Black Panther. And but anyway, yeah, there's this one time he basically just he swings a flagpole, and he just sort of grabs it. And I'm like, he would have basically he's a Hulk. He would have cut you in half with that flagpole. He wouldn't just be stopping that dude. You don't have
Absolutely.
superhero powers, but apparently, he's got the vibranium suit, but vibranium is not indestructible, right? So yeah, Sam should have been dead like 5 or 6 times over in this fight. Which, by the way, this fight, the CGI here, there has been in this movie, there was a ton of CGI. There's even shots that you think would just be just like them in a cemetery.
Right,
You know,
right.
that are very clearly
Too much of
green
those type of
screen
volume, green
or
screen, or
volume
whatever
or
it is,
something,
too much
yeah.
of that.
There's so much of it, and it's ugly. It just does not look good at all, and it's wildly inconsistent too in its quality. Sometimes it's actually decent, other times awful. But this big CGI fight at the end with the Hulk, which everybody had said there was about 5 minutes of it. It was about 7 minutes, um, from what I counted. I think I've heard a few other people say that too. This fight is just off. The CGI is like PlayStation 2 cutscene level bad. I mean, it's cartoonish how bad it is sometimes. And it goes on. Honestly, 7 minutes is probably too long. It's it's a stupid fight. And
Underwhelming for sure.
in the end, how does he defeat him? How does he defeat the Red Hulk?
I think he tells them, "What will your daughter think? What will
Yeah,
your daughter think of you?"
he
And then it's
talks
like,
to him about it. Yeah,
right.
he
It's
talks
so
to him.
annoying. The whole thing
So
is just so pathetic. You reminded me how pathetic it is. Go
but
on, sorry.
then, I mean, numerous times he's jumping around. I mean, if you remember, let's think back to the Hulk fight when we saw Iron Man have to put on the Hulkbuster trying to
Right.
stop the Hulk in Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it's taking everything he's got in that Hulkbuster suit to just try to keep him from destroying the town, and he's barely successful, right?
Right.
And, here he's jumping around in his little vibranium suit, and he's slashing him with his wings, and he has, like, feathers in his wings that come off and can stab him, I guess?
He stabs him with, like, a vibranium feather,
Yeah.
and then he thinks he's, like, he got him, but then it turns out that he gets up and, like, it was only temporary. So then he said, "Well, you need to walk your daughter through the rose garden." And really, he lured him to the same stupid rose garden that he said he would walk his daughter through. Man, was that dumb. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
he's like,
it
"Your
was the
daughter, what would
cherry
your
it was the
daughter think
cherry blossoms,
if you
yeah, the
didn't walk
cherry
her through the rose garden?" Man, is that dumb.
Yeah, and so then, yeah, then he finally manages to get him to turn back into, into himself. He unhulks, dehulks. I don't know what you call it. Hulks in instead of hulking out. I don't know.
And you see, like,
Uh,
a shirtless Harrison Ford for some
you
reason.
get shirtless old Harrison Ford, 80-some-year-old Harrison Ford. And then, well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, for an 80-year-old guy, he didn't look too bad.
No,
Uh,
no, for an you want when you're 80, you wanna look as good as
you wanna
Harrison
look like
Ford,
that.
but still.
So then, the next thing we get, essentially, they want to debrief him about this, and then it cuts to where we see uh, Ross, who has taken responsibility for his actions, removed himself from the presidency, and is now behind bars.
Right, there's also, I think, a scene before that where they get Isaiah out of,
Yes,
jail,
yeah, they get
and
Isaiah
then,
out of prison.
you
Yeah,
know, the little widow lady,
yeah,
helps, and then they gotta have him released, and she's like, "We even had your suit ironed for you," or something like that.
yeah. They've got his like suit dry cleaned and give it back
Yeah,
to him,
now
and
you can go back to being, like, pimping.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so then,
I
yes,
think they even, like, at the end play, like, some hip hop or something. Don't they do, like, a
there
little
might
more
have been a little
OG and,
bit,
like,
yeah.
dapping and hip hop in the background? I know I'm not saying this to be, like, an istaphobe. It really happens in the movie. As somebody said in the chat that I think that when they have movies with people that are black, that they immediately wanna shove that in there. That's, like, the discrimination. You know what I mean? That seems, like, weird, but never
Adam
mind. Go
Gray
on.
says, "Everyone knows you can de-escalate a Hulk by being a good listener."
Exactly.
It's it's excellent. But yeah, so, yeah, a little bit of a Hollywood wet dream there. Trump, accepts responsibility for his actions, steps down from his office, and then is locked behind bars. That's is exactly what everybody wanted. Um,
Right,
but
but
then when he's locked up, his daughter comes to see him because now he's done the right thing.
okay, and here I have something to say to you. Liv Tyler, it looks like AI created her. Like, you don't even see her face proper. It's like there's bars and you can barely see her in the background. It is so weird. I don't know if she was,
I
like, in a different studio, if she, like, filmed it in her closet, or it's like an AI. Maybe she never even showed up there and she's like, F it, just make me like an AI."
I will admit it looked very weird. I think they filmed her separate from that scene. She was not in the same room. The room was probably CGI to begin with, or at least some of it was, like the bars were probably CGI'd. So I think they just filmed her totally separate from the scene and then sort of CGI'd her into the scene. It did look very weird. It did not look like she was
Didn't
actually
look
there
like
on the
she was
stage.
there, like, the bars on her face, like, I thought either she's taken a lot of Botox and she felt bad and they CGI'd her differently, or they AI'd her, or she didn't have time. I really don't know what to tell you. There was something so awkward about that. That was another very reshooty vibe, that it feels like reshoots, very, very, like, quick and not well thought out, and they just that's like a weird, concoction of copy pasting there at the end. That scene with Liv Tyler and him really looked awkward, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but I'm like, either she's AI or she's not there in the room with him, or she's just somewhere else, or she doesn't even know what this scene is. Even if, let's say, they brought Liv Tyler, maybe she doesn't even know what the scene is or what she's even doing there. It's just really, really weird.
Mark D with a C wants to know why Ross didn't use some sort of preventative or proactive pardons like Biden did. He could have
That's
just pardoned himself, right? That's the way it works.
that's a good
Uh,
question.
but or pardoned the leader.
Even though I understand that he's behind bars and, like, you could do the allegory or whatever to Trump, but I'll still say that, for whatever it's worth, as much as I think that it crossed their minds when they were doing it and they must have toned it down, I will say that at least Thunderbolt Ross is his own character, and his behavior is not completely uncalled for when you take into consideration what his character is generally like. It's not exactly how we would normally see them, but I still think that, I don't know, I guess it works with the story, sort of. The problem is that the movie is just so poorly made.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I would have let it slide. It's not that I sat there and thought, "Oh, this is too much like TDS." That's really not the problem the movie has. The movie has a problem that it can't tell a story that seems like even semi-intelligent. It's a story for, like, stupid people. At best, I even stupid people, I think I'm offending them now by saying it's a story for them.
So then afterwards, we get the post credit scene.
Ah,
Total
yes.
waste of my time.
Most anticlimactic, like, post-credit scene ever. I was waiting there. It's basically, it looks like it's the same scene with Ross from before the credits. Usually a credit scene is supposed to be something that's happening somewhere else, something unexpected. It is a
Oh,
total waste
the
of time.
others. Oh, guess what? There's a multiverse, guys. Did you know there was a multiverse? Good grief.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just so stupid. I thought it was stupid because, like, a second before the credits, Sam Wilson was, like, wearing the same thing, I think, in the same room, doing the same thing, and then he just went to, like, a different cell, and that's, like, you needed credits to separate these 2 stupid scenes.
And,
It's like, even they couldn't even do a post-credit scene that was even semi-interesting. It
and
was
then
the most half-assed credit scene ever. Sorry, go on.
yeah, yes, Mark D with a C, that is the leader. Yeah, and in fact, what's weird is in that post-credit scene, it's such a short scene, but I think he actually looks worse. Like the CGI on that scene is worse than he looks in the rest of the movie.
I think
Maybe
you
it's
may
just
be
the
right.
lighting,
I think you may be right.
but yeah, it's awful. It's just a complete waste of time. Yeah, it doesn't set up anything new. It doesn't tell you anything new. Argentum. It's just like, guess what? There's a multiverse and there's others out there. Uh, what?
So dumb, so dumb. This movie is just a really bad movie. I
Yeah.
thought it was bad while I was watching it, but then when I was talking to you now, it even it's even worse than I thought it was very bad, so it's not like I'm really shocked here, but I don't know. I think that the first maybe 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes gave me the feeling that maybe this would be a passable movie, but then it turns out that those first 5 to 10 minutes were the best it had to offer.
Yeah, I would say, and I've heard some other people similar. Maybe the first third of the film is serviceable.
Barely. It really, like I said, in increments of like 5-10 minutes, you start to feel it. But maybe for the first like 30 minutes, you could sort of let it slide. If that was like a preparing you for something great, and then like it really takes off in the second act and grand finale in the third, maybe you could let it slide. But once you see that second act and you realize like, oh man, I'm in the second act now, and this is crap. That's when you know the movie is just crap.
Yeah, I would say after the assassination attempt,
Yes, that's where it goes off the
everything just
rails.
goes off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the part that they're pimping in the limousine with the hip hop and like,
It's
"You go,
pretty,
bro,
yeah.
you bro." I already that's already a red flag, you know what I mean? Like, that already I'm like, "Uh-oh." And then they as the hip hop plays and they're, like, dapping and whatever, and they arrive at the White House, that's when, like, I feel like this is it, something's not working here, and then, like, with every that attempt really is a changes the whole mood, like, you're just like, "Man, this is bad." And it never recovers.
Joshua Calkins mentions the first post-credit scene was Sam Jackson announcing the Avengers. I honestly, I honestly think they were trying to make a parallel here with this post-credit scene where they were saying, "Oh, you think you're the only one out there with a suit, with powers or whatever," like, from that first one. And here they're saying, "Oh, you think you're the only, you heroes think you're the only heroes out there. What about the others that are oh, good, great. It's just bad. So this whole film. Oh well, first I'll say, Jesus Davia gave us five Price of Reason Live memberships. I gifted those to the chat. So thank you for that, Jesus Davila. I appreciate that.
Let me see. Sorry, oh, Jesus Davila 5.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really generous.
Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anybody getting those gifted memberships
I
right
think
now.
why we have a lot of people watching. Maybe a
Yeah,
lot of them already have the thing.
yeah. There might be some people that have gifted subs turned off or are using brand
Right.
new
I think that
accounts,
some
but
people have gifted subs turned off. You should really turn it on. But
yep.
I don't know. There's a lot of subscribers, a lot. There's a good amount of subscribers, so I would think that it would go somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. But yeah, I as so all said, just the whole movie just taken together. Oh gosh, this movie was just soulless.
Yeah,
It,
sorry, go on.
no, it just it felt like exactly what I expected it to be. It is this patchwork of scenes that were shot at different times with different scripts. Right, the original shoots, reshoots, reshoots of reshoots, just sort of pasted and glued together to make some semblance of a story out of it. And it's just bereft of any real soul, any real, I don't know, creativity to actually make it feel like this was some like a creation. It's more of a Frankenstein than it is some actual vision for a story or a film. It's a mess.
It's the kind of feeling I had, when I watched, like, Rise of Skywalker. There's other movies like it that, like, you walk in, and there's so many reshoots, and it's so dumb that it just wears you out, kind of. I think that maybe the Marvels, I felt like this. There have been movies that are like this, and usually those movies are movies that I don't respond well to. I can actually, if I'm sitting in the theater and I wanna sleep during a movie, that means that there's something wrong. I didn't sleep. I mean, I can keep myself from falling asleep, but the fact that it crossed my mind is not a good sign.
Yeah, I was chugging my Coke Icy the whole time.
I didn't get one because I got kind of late there, so I didn't even get the Coke Icy, which now I regret that I didn't have, like, a heavily caffeinated beverage that I could keep drinking from, because man, this thing that part where they were over the ocean with the missiles or whatever it was, so I was struggling. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
again, I stayed awake, but I there was a voice in my head that was like, "Nah, nah, nothing will happen. It's okay if you fall asleep." And I'm like, "No, I have to watch this crap. I have to watch it." And I was, like, battling myself.
Yeah, this was a tough watch. It really was. Until at some point when I finally was just like, "Okay, I'm just going to enjoy this ride to hell." It's this
That's
is
a good
this
way to put it.
is this is every bit as terrible as I thought it was going to be, and maybe worse. So let's just see what happens. And then yeah, there were things along the way. Yeah, I think you said like, we get even before we got to that that just extended scene with the fight in the air with them flying around where it just felt like it went on forever, and then that gets interrupted by a really long exposition scene in there, and then it's back to the fight in the air. Right before that was that bit where you have Sam Wilson and Sidewinder, who in the last scene you saw them together were trying to kill each other. They're just standing around having a nice chat, and Sidewinder's just spilling the beans on everything with no motivation. There's no reason for him to give all this up. He's just "Oh, well, here's what I was told. Here's what, you're gonna find out what, uh, this guy knows, and, Stearns has all these things figured out, and he's gonna, yeah, it's like he just tells him, just spills all this stuff about everything that Stearns has been doing and all the plans and everything. There's absolutely no reason for him to do that. Plus, he was stabbed in the chest, and he's just standing around with, like, a little white, like, tissue, like, covering where he was
And I
stabbed.
feel like Harrison Ford, like, half th 3/4 of the movie is the same, like, 2 rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
one, there's the thing that he's sitting down, and there's the that he's talking to his, staff or whatever it is, and the other one is like he's I don't know where, like, there's, like, an office thing.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he's in the Oval Office. I don't know, there's only, like, a few if you think about it, like, Harrison Ford is limited to a few very specific kind of settings in this movie. I don't know how to
Yeah,
explain
he
it.
is. He is. Yeah, and I think part of that, I'm betting you anything that was probably part of the reshoots.
Probably.
They
The
they
movie
weren't
feels
able to get him
very
back
small.
onto a stage, they weren't able to get him back onto a set because they didn't have the set anymore, and so they had to sort of make stuff up, they had to make it up on a volume, or they had to whip something up,
Totally,
use a
totally.
standing set somewhere, and, yeah, and so, yeah, he's in a bunch of just sort of generic rooms. "Oh, we're in the war room. Okay, we'll be
But it
there
make
for the
it
next
makes
3
this whole
scenes."
movie feel so generic, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yep. It's like I said, it feels just soulless. There's nothing in this that makes it feel like this was some sort of genuine creation that someone worked on. It's sort of glued and screwed together out of leftovers, and it was all decided by committee. It
The
seems
fact that it cost close to $500 million after
Oh,
all
yeah.
the reshoots, at least rumored, that is bonkers because
Yep.
this movie doesn't look like a movie that was filmed for even a fifth of that.
Yep.
It's, like, embarrassingly bad.
I am still, I'm sticking to my prediction about, 450 million,
I think so too.
total
I
box office.
I think between 400 to 500 is my prediction as well. I think that even if it gets that, it should be considered very lucky because the movie is crappy. But I figure it's people are going to probably have. There's more of a chance that people will see it than, let's say, the Marvels. So I think it'll make more than the Marvels, but it's not going to make, like, it's not going to be $1 billion movie here.
No, not there's not a chance. This movie
At
is
least
gonna
I don't think
lose
so.
hundreds of millions, and I don't even want to guess what they have spent on marketing for this because it is everywhere. It
True.
is everywhere. I have seen ads, I've seen posters, I've seen photos, people showing stuff like subway ads and all sorts of stuff just all over the place, billboards. They are spending an enormous amount of money to promote this film. And so I would say their typical marketing budget is probably blown out too. So instead of spending 100, maybe they might have spent 2 or 300 million on the marketing. I mean, it's wild. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
this
think
is
I
in the end, it's going to be interesting to see what they made.
yeah, it is interesting. I wonder, I think this is one of those movies that maybe initially on the weekend it'll do all right, but then I think there'll be a significant drop from first weekend to second. This isn't one of those,
Absolutely.
like, a very rewatchable movie. It's also, if there's any kind of word of mouth, I suspect that it won't be good. Stranger things have happened. I mean, the Suicide Squad movie, the first one, that wasn't a good movie, but it made a lot of money. So once in a while, you can have some strange situation like that. But I really feel that this movie, I think it's very disappointing. I find it hard to believe that people will watch it and get excited over it.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely disappointing. Fandom Outsider said that the movie was leftovers. He said, "Are you saying it was made in a cave from a box of scraps?" Yes, but unfortunately, Tony Stark was not the one
Right.
making this film, so
Unfortunately, yeah.
it turned out this way. Yeah, uh, this I don't think is going to make a big splash. Very likely, there is going to be a pretty decent opening weekend. I'm guessing that there's going to be a pretty good opening weekend, kind of like you
I
said.
think you're right.
But no, this is not gonna have legs. This is not gonna have a great second weekend. It's not gonna carry on after that. We're gonna see a trajectory, a lot like the Marvels. It's gonna start out better than I think the Marvels did. You're gonna see numbers probably closer to what we saw for Eternals, or maybe some of the maybe some of the earlier Captain America films, but it's going to have a pretty decent starting weekend probably because I don't think the word has gotten out to a lot of the normies that this is a disaster. But once word of mouth starts spreading, this is going to go downhill fast. And as you said, this is not rewatchable at all.
No.
This is
It's
not a
only
let's
watchable
go
one
back
time,
and
so
experience
yeah,
this
you could
again.
barely watch it once, so to rewatch it is really, an
No,
unreasonable chore.
yeah.
But it is what it is. We'll see where it all goes. I was wondering, there was something that I added to the thumbnail here that maybe you know more about regarding, Avowed.
Oh, Avowed. Yeah, I did see that was, I think that was getting, released on Steam or early release happened on Steam. I had heard that, apparently somebody at the studio or maybe the director said that basically the game was gonna be broken on release, like it wasn't gonna work when it came out, and apparently that was the case. Um, uh, let's see, I did see, there was maybe a review for it. I think, I'm pretty certain that IGN gave it a 7 out of 10,
They
as
always give it a 7 out of
as
10.
they do for everything. There were a few reviews I think that were a little bit better. But there were some others that were not as great. It sounds like perhaps the some of the gameplay might be decent, but that the actual, like, the story and everything that goes along with it is actually pretty dreadful.
We have a
So
comment. Sleuth Dog 58. Okay, so there's a worm with a crown and R2D2 talking. Ouch. Worm with a
ouch!
crown. Somebody said I was a goldfish. I like that better.
Goldfish, yeah.
And
Goldfish.
Scotty, he wants to know that us to know that he likes the American flag. We like
Yes.
it too.
We
So
salute
yeah,
you.
so what do you make of this? This is another disaster?
Well, this is one, recently there were some announcements, coming out from this one. Essentially, there were some, uh, let's see, what was said? The director of Avowed came out and, essentially said, let's see, when he was promoting the new game, there was, the art director who was employed by Obsidian, sent some messages out on Blue Sky, essentially saying, "Oh well, if you're a Trump fan, I don't want you to buy my game. If let's see, uh, where was what he said about it? I think he was one that was having like some kind of beef with Elon on X. If I remember, basically, Elon was saying stuff about getting rid of pronouns in fantasy games and getting rid of woke stuff in games and stuff.
I
And
recall something, yeah.
yeah, he came back and was saying all sorts of nasty stuff. Basically saying I wanted to make a game that Elon hates, and I hope that the world's richest, shittiest, sorry, Sean, whiny boy, hates what I'm making. There was some stuff like that, and so there was a lot of pretty ugly back and forth happening on social media. He was saying a lot of stuff about the Transformers and people supporting them and so on. And then he had some back and forth with some gamers, basically saying that you know, well, if you don't like, the certain ideologies and stuff like that, you don't think those should be part of my game, then then don't buy it or whatever. So there was a lot of negative publicity that had something to do with that, and then eventually. Yeah, it started coming out that as the game was being released early, some of the uh, some people are having significant issues with trying to actually even play the game because it's kind of broken. And some of the early reviews, like I said, not particularly flattering of the game as a whole. So yeah, looks like maybe it's gonna be it might sell okay. It does look very nice, I will say. And I like Obsidian as a studio. They made some great stuff in the past, but you know what? If you tell me not to buy your game, then I'm not gonna buy it. So yeah, that's fine by
Yeah,
me. I
that
got
never
plenty of other
helps,
stuff
yeah.
to play.
I agree with that policy. If people tell you not to buy it, then don't buy it.
Yeah, got lots of other stuff I need to enjoy. Other stuff that doesn't cost me $70 and that doesn't run properly on my computer when I buy it.
Totally.
So, yeah. Oh boy.
Well, I think that on that positive note, we should start looking at some people. I had to go in and out, so maybe I lost some of the people,
Yep.
but I'll try my best here. Let me see how much I have on YouTube. I may not have everything. There may be an issue here, but I'll try my best. Empress and M, Joshua Calkins, Storm King, Mary White, Jonathan Conroy, Adam Gray, Wrenched. That usually Mr. Brown says.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we have 1 second. Jonathan Conroy, Adam Gray, Mary White, Argentum, the big ship who gave those 20 memberships. Thank you, the big ship. Gray, Mary White, Phantom Outsider, Six, who gave a poop sticker. and Argentum, Adam Gray. I'm probably missing people here, and I'm so sorry. Mark D with the C. I know Mad Cat was here. Six was here. Probably still is. Uh, the Highlander, Mary White, Phantom Outsider, Empress NM. It's the Phobos for sure. Mars Monkey Mask, Max, Mars. It's hard to say. Mars Monkey, at least in the middle of the night. Mars Monkey Max. Sorry about that. And then let me see what else. Marlo Sherendorf, of course. Jesus Davila, gifted 5 Price of Reason live memberships. Also greatly appreciated. Super nice of you. And great to see you here in general. Let's see what else. I feel like some people are kind of more on the quiet side.
Sure,
Snortopupus Q Burr,
yeah, hey, Snortopupus.
Storm King. So I think I've said a lot. I
Yeah.
probably missed some because there were glitches here in the system.
Yep. Let's see if I have any others here. Let's see if he's mentioned Rob Altus. Let's see. Over on let's see. I think I didn't see too many other names here on YouTube. Let's go take a look at Rumble. We had Istphobos joining us over there as well. Kivo 1961, a regular in our chat over on Rumble. Great
He's
to see
actually
you.
a subscriber on the
And a
Rumble
subscriber as
side,
well,
so
yes.
thank you, Kivo.
And we had Maroxtra over there, Dude Bro Set 420, another regular that we see over there. Hypno Crab, we had joining us this evening. Deeple 101, Yaholo, Kane Strife, Mike Yeager, Folsom Lockdown, another one that we've started to see regularly. It's good to see you again here tonight, Folsom. Ichiape, Itchy Ape. Oh, Itchy Ape. It's supposed to be Itchy Ape. I got it. Uh, Ichiape. Rob the Water Guy, Mega Man 2136. Minnesota Patriot 76, Stanman 3, Patriot Mike 60, Player for 1, Sleuth Dog 58, and Scotty 7688. Thank you all for joining us over there on Rumble. And everybody who wasn't chiming in on the chat, thanks for joining us and watching. If you want to give us a thumbs up for the stream, leave us a comment after the fact. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe, and you'll know when we go live each
Of
Tuesday and
course, yeah.
Thursday.
Whatever platform you're watching on, you should certainly subscribe. And I think that Adam Gray put some links to your stuff, Professor, but also make sure to subscribe to the Professor. But wherever you're watching, if you're on Rumble, you should, if you haven't already signed up for Rumble and you're just watching through the app, you should sign up. And if you sign up and you feel like following us, it's great. You should definitely do a like. Like Professor said, leave a comment after the fact. That's cool also. So all that would be awesome. And if you're on another platform and again you have a chance to subscribe or follow or whatever it is, we'd love that. We would greatly appreciate it. We don't take anybody's time for granted, and we always appreciate everybody hanging out with us here. But at the same time, if you want to go the extra mile, even just like a sub or a like or a follow or a comment, all these things really help us. So
Yeah.
just throwing that out there.
Yep. And so, yeah, I think that just about does it for tonight. Real quick, I'll put a pitch out there. Tomorrow night, I will be joining Adam Gray and his friends over there on the B sides on B roll stage. They have a channel both on Rumble and on YouTube, as well as any number of other places, Twitch as well. And I'll be joining them to watch a movie tomorrow night over there on the
I also
channel and
highly recommend it.
have a little fun.
You know, uh, it's cool whatever's going on there on B-roll, and I think that anybody that hasn't checked it out should definitely do that. I hope Adam Gray put that in the link, put the link in the chat or whatever it is.
I think I saw him post something earlier. Maybe they'll have something else to they can repost that
All right.
here.
Well, he has a wrench, so I'm sure he can.
Yeah.
He could pull it off.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
so
Argentum's gonna be joining us over there, on the show tomorrow as well, so that'll be fun.
nice. So yeah, I guess on that positive note, nice that we had a little something to cleanse our palate after talking about that Captain America movie. Uh, I thought it
Oh.
was bad, and after we talked about it and I started piecing together all the nonsense that I looked at, it somehow became even worse. Even though walking out of it, I thought it was bad, but now I kind of I feel like walking out of it, my instinct told me that I didn't that I there was too much that I didn't like about it, but I was still kind of processing all the different issues I had with it. And now in the conversation with you and like reminiscing about all this crap, it really like dawned on me how bad the movie is really.
You were a little drowsy, you weren't able to absorb all of the awful at once, it was just too much.
It's true though. It's like it knocks you out. It like it puts you to sleep and like shows you crap. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like but that's the worst thing a movie could do. That's all I could say, that a movie that's not working well, that's the effect that it has.
Yeah.
But, like I said, on the flip side, really enjoyed hanging out with everybody here. Been a great crowd here on YouTube and on Rumble, and, we love doing it, so and Rumble is, of course, our headquarters. This is a Rumble-driven show, and, we absolutely love, streaming on Rumble. So I guess that's it. Do you have anything more to say, Professor?
No, that's it. Thanks for being here with us tonight, everybody, and just hanging out with us. Always good to be here with you, Price. And I look forward to seeing you and hopefully everyone else here on Tuesday next week for the Night Owl.
Absolutely. I'll see you here next week.
Yeah.
Next week, yeah.
All right. Take
I'm
care, everybody.
still recovering from Captain America. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.